April. The players all and take a knee out there as the ongoing battle and fight against in football and in society continues. We are underway. Newcastle will kick from left to right in bright yellow shirts, shorts and socks. Leicester in their all royal blue. Long ball forward immediately, looking to spring Callum Wilson into the attack, but it goes through harmlessly to Kasper Schmeichel. Alan Hutton alongside me. Alan, enjoyed the chat there for the last hour with the boys, but in terms of the game that we've got in front of us here, what's going to happen?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. There's a lot on this game, obviously. Newcastle sitting 9 points above that relegation zone, really looking to stamp their authority and stay up and look forward to next season. But as well, so much in this for Leicester to try and consolidate that top 4 place. So really looking forward to the game. I think this could be a good one.
Well, just to give you that Leicester back line, it is a back three. Soyuncu will be at left centre-back. Fofana switches to the middle and Castagna at right centre-back. Ricardo is the right wing-back, taking the throw-in now back to Castagna. And Mark Albrighton, who came in for the injured Johnny Evans after the warm-up, he's at left wing-back. He'll just play anywhere for you, Alan, won't he, Mark Albrighton?
Exactly. Obviously, I played alongside him at Aston Villa. Gives 110% every single time he's on the pitch, and it won't matter to him that he's been called up last minute. He'll give his all, he's ready, and he's always a runner.
Leicester's most used substitute this season, Mark Albrighton, but gets 14th Premier League start of the season. Let's reach it. Willock almost got there first, but Maddison approaching the penalty area, plays a 1-2 with Jamie Vardy, clips it into the area towards Kelechi Iheanacho. It was 2 straight, and Martin Dubravka in all tonight takes the collection of the ball. James Maddison's form's an interesting one, Alan. He said it's a catch-22 situation before the game, Brendan Rodgers, that he needs games to get back to full fitness, having missed time with a hip problem, but every game they play at the moment is absolutely massive.
Yeah, it's catch-22, but for a player like Maddison, he has to play. For me, he picks up really intelligent positions in that number 10 role. I think last week was his first 90 minutes, but also we understand that we've got a lot of big games coming up, but he has to play minutes to get to that top level.
How about Kelechi Iheanacho's form as well? Jamie Vardy, in terms of goal scoring, has dropped off of late. He's played magnificently. It was his goal that sent Leicester to the final next Saturday against Chelsea. First final since 1969, a competition they never won. 4 finals, 4 defeats. In the quarter-final as well against Manchester United. Terrific for Brendan Rodgers over the past couple of months or so. Newcastle in possession. They in fact have a throw-in on the left-hand side. Matt Ritchie is Steve Bruce patrolling the sideline in the technical area for Newcastle in a big black jacket. Grey hair, 60 years of age, Steve Bruce, and he's been shortlisted for Manager of the Month in the Premier League for April, which I don't think the most Newcastle fan perhaps saw coming after the 3-0 defeat at Brighton at the end of March.
No, they wouldn't have seen that. But I think after that, the form definitely picked up. A couple of wins, 2 draws, I think, and then obviously it was a poor performance against Arsenal. So I know Steve Bruce will be definitely looking for a bounce back tonight and a good performance.
Yeah. It was a 2-2 draw at home to Tottenham, wasn't it? They drew away at Liverpool, victory against Burnley, and a home win over West Ham United. The position was pretty tough as well, and it's that little run before the defeat to Arsenal last weekend that has got them well clear of the bottom 3. Here's Soyuncu, the Turkey international for Leicester City, and he plays it infield towards Kelechi Iheanacho, and it's a left-footed pass out to the left flank to James Maddison, number 10 on his back. Back he goes to Iheanacho, and he brings Castagna into the play. Right touchline now with Ricardo, the Portugal international. Again, he's working his way back to full fitness after tearing an ACL. Now with Wesley Fofana, halfway line. Castagna, the Belgium international, gets it back from Ricardo. Patient play here by Leicester City. They had problems breaking down the 10 men of Southampton last Friday night in that 1-1 draw. Disappointing point, said Brendan Rodgers. They didn't do enough, according to the manager, to win the game. Cross to the back post is a good one. Tielemans was there for Leicester City, but so too was the Newcastle United defence. And it's a goal kick, but that was a decent service into the box, and Yuri Tielemans making a great run to the back post.
Yeah, that's twice James Maddison has just picked up that lovely position, just in number 10, getting the ball, loves to just turn, and he just dinked the ball over. It was a beautifully, just a sandwich just over the top, just for Tielemans, just unlucky.
No stranger to the golf course yourself, Alan, of course?
Yeah, I try my best. I like to beat Jermaine now and then, so...
I'm sure that gets quite competitive.
Yeah,
You
always.
footballers together.
Yeah, always. Don't get me wrong, he is a good player, but I do like to beat him now and then.
Jacob Murphy in possession, right-hand side. Here's the captain, John Joe Shelby, captain in the absence of the injured Jamal Lascelles, but he gives the ball away to James Maddison. Maddison seeing a lot of the action in the early part of the game, opens up for him into the penalty area, tries a side-footed effort, wanted to bend that around Dubravka inside his left-hand post, but it was straight to him in the end. But that's another good move by Leicester City in the early stages and the first attempt on goal.
Yeah, Maddison, danger man. They're really going to have to come out and get tight to him, the Newcastle defence. Nobody's really wanting to engage him. They're a little bit scared of him, but they're giving him that room, allowing him to cross, allowing him to shoot.
Leicester look sharp in the early stages. Ricardo down the right-hand side, but he's tackled by Saint-Maximin. What a fabulous player this man is when he gets in full flow. So skillful, but he's dispossessed this time. An excellent recovery by Ricardo, who finds Ndidi in the centre circle. Newcastle half of play. James Maddison forward to Iheanacho, back to goal, back to Maddison, who's pulling the strings in that number 10 role for Leicester City in the middle of the park. Now Wilfred Ndidi, the destroyer in midfield for this Leicester City side. Söyüncü, left touch line is Mark Albrighton. Back he goes to Söyüncü, who's got a white bandage on his left forearm, broad-shouldered. He's got his hair tied back, shoulder length, the Turkey international. Now Leicester down the right-hand side, keeping possession very nicely, but is there a cutting edge that was missing down at St Mary's? Lovely long diagonal ball towards Ricardo. It's well dealt with by Matt Ritchie, the left wing-back. Not his usual position, of course. He's fouled by Ricardo. Free kick to Newcastle on the edge of their own area.
I think there's going to be some good battles down the left-hand side and the right. Obviously, with the both teams playing wing-backs, it's going to be a good night. Leicester are actually, they're trying to switch the ball really quickly to allow the likes of Albright and Pereira that time and space to try and drive forward. So it's going to be interesting who comes out on top in those battles.
From a Leicester perspective, look out for Joe Willock as well. He was ineligible to face his parent club Arsenal last week, but what a time of it he's had lately. 3 goals in his last 3, including that dramatic late equaliser at Anfield against Liverpool. And he's back in the centre of the park alongside John Joe Shelby. There's another switch of play from Albright, and it does reach Ricardo, then he slips. And here comes Matt Ritchie for Newcastle United down the left-hand side. Saint-Maximin is ahead of him down the left touchline. Here he is on his right foot, pressured by Castagna, rolls it back to Paul Dummett, who's out of contract at the end of the season, the long-time Newcastle servant. There's talk of a fresh deal being offered. Newcastle down the right now through Jacob Murphy. On the overlap is the Sweden international Emil Kraft in today for Kieran Clark. It is a back 3 for Steve Bruce and Newcastle. Kraft is in the Alan Hutton role.
No
Right
sure
centre
about
back.
Well, pre-season role.
Yeah. Still with Newcastle. The soon aborted Alan Hutton role.
Exactly.
Here's Willock into the penalty area. Steezed off the ball by Albright and then runs out of room and it's out for a goal kick. I think Willock was inquiring as to whether that came off a Leicester player last. The assistant disagreed. Kasper Schmeichel has the goal kick.
That was much better from Newcastle though. Like playing the ball about 1-2s, a little bit of possession. I mean, we're 8 minutes in now and that's the first real opportunity that they've tried to create.
Leicester 0, Newcastle United 0 here on 5 Live Sport. Poor clearance by Schmeichel, straight to Willock. Now it's Callum Wilson, and he's tripped on the edge of the penalty area, was he? The referee, Darren England, says yes. It's a free kick. It was just outside the penalty area. Too close for comfort for Brendan Rodgers and for Leicester City. It was Söyüncü with the challenge. No further action is taken, and it's half a yard outside the right-hand side of the Leicester penalty area.
Yeah, Callum Wilson does excellent. I mean, at first glance, I was thinking penalty. It looked right on the line, but we're just watching it here again. It's a little step over by Callum Wilson. He goes to the outside, and Söyüncü just dangles out a leg. Just, he's not really went for the ball, just dangled, and he's tripped him up there, just outside the box. Lucky boy.
Well, Wilson started against Newcastle, against Arsenal, I should say, last weekend. His first since February because of a hamstring injury. Newcastle have won none of 9 Premier League games without him this season. He's got 10 goals and 5 assists, so good to see him back. And Matt Ritchie very capable in these positions with his left foot, and it's a packed penalty area. Nervy times for the Leicester defence without Johnny Evans, who's just joining us. He didn't make it through the warm-up, and he's out, replaced in the starting 11 by Mark Albright at 10th minute. Newcastle 0, Leicester 0. Ritchie goes low and goes for goal inside that near post. Didn't reach Kasper Schmeichel. It was Jamie Vardy who got the challenge in. The cross comes into the back post. Maximan twisting and turning, trying to get some room for a shot. They were queuing up the tall men at the back post there for Newcastle United, and the cross just skimmed off one of their heads. That was a good opportunity, but Newcastle have had a really good 2 or 3 minutes here. The ball remains in play on this right-hand side, but given straight to Wesley Fofana, and then won back by Matt Ritchie. And they started looking on the back of Newcastle United, with Leicester looking sharp, as you mentioned there a few minutes ago, Alan. Newcastle in the game right now.
Well, yeah, the last 3-4 minutes they're definitely up the tempo. They're playing the ball about really quickly, aggressive. They're on the front foot. Matt Ritchie there, you can see him pressing every time the ball drops. So Steve Bruce will be happy with this start, especially away from home.
You must have been in a situation in your career, Alan, when in the warm-up you lose a player, or maybe yourself has got injured at some point. How does that affect exactly what goes on with the starting 11 that then have to go out?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not ideal, but all these players are ready. They're ready to take part when called upon, and they're professional at the end of the day, so they understand that this could happen at any moment. So especially Mark O'Brien was always going to be ready for this.
But an excellent long ball by Tielemans to find Vardy, who gets to the byline. Crafton, the ball was played back, but the flag is up on the far side. One of those delayed offside flags goes against Jamie Vardy down the left-hand side. And when Darren Cann waves the flag, you tend to believe him. One of the top assistants in the Premier League, who ran the line at a World Cup final with Howard Webb in 2010. Brendan Rodgers on the swing his gum. He said last week against Southampton, we looked a little bit tired. Didn't do it. Welcome Tottenham Hotspur, and there will be supporters in the ground. I think it'll be a 25 capacity, so around about 8,000, which Brendan Rodgers called a pleasant shock. They'll have fans at Wembley next week, of course, for the FA Cup final against Chelsea. That's a foul by Fofana out on the left-hand side, a little trip and clumsy against Almiron, and now is another opportunity for Newcastle to get a set into the penalty area.
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit clumsy. Good ball over the top. Almiron's on it quickly, and he just waits. He knows Fofana's just going to come into the back of him. He just waits for him, feels the touch, and then goes over. Dangerous position again for Newcastle to swing balling.
Matt Ritchie is over this again. It'll be an outswinger if he takes. Shelby would be a right-footed in-swinger. It's about 5 yards in from the left touchline, halfway deep inside the penalty area. 13th minute, Leicester 0, Newcastle 0. Shelby curls it in. Leicester not comfortable defending set pieces. The flashing header didn't go far wide. I think Federico Fernandez got something on that, but that was a free header and a worry for Leicester.
Yeah, it was a great ball in from John Joe Shelby. Actually, is it Fernandez that just gets a head on that? Yeah, Fernandez just gets a glancing header to the back post. Schmeichel looked very calm. From up here it looked as if it was going goal-bound, but he's seen it was whistling past the post.
Well, they've conceded, it wasn't a corner, Alan, but they've conceded 7 from corners, Leicester City. It was a similar delivery on that occasion from the free kick. Only 4 teams have conceded more. They don't defend set pieces very well, and they don't score many goals from set pieces either, Leicester City. So that's something to keep an eye on, particularly in the absence of Johnny Evans. Leicester 0, Newcastle 0 on a Friday night at the King Power Stadium. Blue skies and wispy clouds above us. And here's Mark Albrighton on the left-hand side. Down the line it goes to Kelechi Iheanacho. The flag stays down at the moment. He's got 2 defenders in front of him. Back he goes to Wilfred Ndidi, who in turn goes back to the halfway line to Soyuncu. A well-organised Newcastle United back line. There's 5 strung across the back when they're out of possession. Fofana, right-footed, side-footed to Castagna. Leicester will drove down the right-hand side now. Ricardo infield to Tielemans. And Ricardo went down off the ball. He was fouled by Matt Ritchie. And at the end of that return, it was an excellent bit of interplay between Tielemans and Ricardo, but Leicester have a free kick right by the touchline.
Yeah, I think Pereira was breaking into a dangerous position there. Matt Ritchie knew exactly what he was doing, just cut across him, didn't allow him to get into that space and brought him down.
Leicester know that 8 points from 4 games will be enough to secure a top 4 spot in Champions League football. Soyuncu, what a good cross that is. Tielemans had made an excellent run to the back post. It just evaded him in the end. And now Almiron back defending for Newcastle United, intercepts the ball by Ricardo and plays a long pass down the left sideline, but it goes out of play. The idea was right, but Tielemans just unable to get on the end of the cross.
Yeah, it was a wonder ball in from Sionchu. I wasn't expecting that, just whipped into the left foot. It was really unlucky, but when I'm watching Newcastle, this is the problem. When they defend so deep in a 5, when they get the ball forward, they're only really looking for St Maximum. There's no really other options. They're going to have to try and play it out better.
Back with Leicester again, and here is Yuri Tielemans to his compatriot Castagna. Tielemans with the blue boots on, points to where he wanted Castagna to go, delivers the ball into his strike. Castagna gets the ball back from Vardy. Heavy first touch though and gives the ball away to Willock on the edge of the Newcastle penalty area. And Newcastle in attack down the right. And it's Callum Wilson approaching the penalty area. The square ball, St Maximum, oh what a save! Kasper Schmeichel. It had to be 1-0 to Newcastle, but Schmeichel spread himself. And it's out for a corner. The flag stayed down, that would have counted. Schmeichel, excellent goalkeeping to deny St Maximum.
Unbelievable save that is from Schmeichel. Massive moment in the game. Murphy plays the ball down the right. Callum Wilson, fantastic run. He's just laid it on a plate for St Maximum. He's opened up his body. He's tried to put it in with his right foot to the side netting. Schmeichel out fast. Great save.
He was at the far post. Had he gone to the far post, there was a huge gap. He tried to go back across the goalkeeper. And Schmeichel was excellent, but he didn't elevate it either, did he, Alan?
You're really thinking he has to lift it. I mean, Schmeichel, he's out that quickly. The only thing he can do is lift it up. But
what a chance for Newcastle, who have the corner kick, and it's punched only half clear by Kasper Schmeichel, but he's fouled in doing so. And Leicester City survive. 17th minute, Leicester 0, Newcastle 0. I don't think Alan St Maximum will get an easier chance all season, but that's not to take anything away from goalkeeper Kasper Schmeichel.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as far as chances go, that was massive for St Maximum, but you have to give all credit to Schmeichel. He came out really quickly, smothered the ball, great save.
Needed your sandwich, didn't he?
Exactly. Sandwich, little dink, goal.
Leicester in possession, right touchline is Ricardo, and he goes back to Wesley Fofana, this young Frenchman who arrived from St Etienne, who were managed by Claude Puel, the former Leicester manager. Cost a lot of money, over £30 million. I don't think they expected Fofana to make an immediate impact, but boy has he. This is his 8th straight Premier League start since a hamstring injury. What's going on down here? Steve Bruce is handing James Maddison his boot back.
Yeah, Maddison's boot came off in the tackle. Steve Bruce has went over and picked up to hide it from him. Fair play, I would have done the exact same thing.
Emil Kraft for Newcastle, level the edge of his own penalty area down the right-hand side. Plays it into the chest there on that right-hand side. It's going to be a free kick to Newcastle United. Joe Willock was barged into, sent tumbling to the turf by Sionchu, just inside the Leicester half, and John Joe Shelby will take the set piece. Well, this looks like it's going to be a very, very good game. Newcastle need the points, and
I thought this would be a good game. Obviously, Steve Bruce is Newcastle boys right up for this because, all right, the first 5 minutes was Leicester's, but I think Newcastle come right into this.
Wilson in the penalty area, cuts back from the bar. The flag eventually goes up. Where do you stand on the delayed flag situation? Because it's getting frustrating for everybody, isn't it?
It annoys the life out of me. I mean, it's going to take to somebody who pulls a muscle trying to run after the ball when it's offside. I mean, that's what we're getting into here. But if it's marginal, I get it. But if you can just pick the flag up, let's stop the game and get back to it.
I remember a situation involving John Joe Shelby at Sheffield United last season. When he ran through, everybody thought he was offside. The flag went up, but VAR said he was onside, and the goal stood. So that's kind of the situation why the assistants are keeping the flag down. But it is irritating a lot of people. Not the only thing in the game that's irritating a lot of people at the moment. Fofana finds Castagna, quickly out of his feet to Ricardo, infield to Iheanacho, back to Fofana again. Leicester just struggling to work their way between the lines here of Newcastle United, but here's Ndidi. He'll have a go, and he dramatically overclubs that one and sends it behind for a goal kick. Ricardo, the nearest Leicester player to him.
It can be difficult for Leicester at times, because if you look at Newcastle, as soon as they lose the ball, they're dropping back into that 5-3-1-1. So there's not much space there for Leicester to try and get Maddison on the ball. They're going to have to try and work that little bit harder to create the room.
That was a good challenge by Wilfred Ndidi on Joe Willock, and in the end it came off Willock. The Arsenal loan in, it's a Leicester throw. Taken quickly, Tielemans into the feet of Maddison. Excellent challenge by Almiron, getting back and helping out his defence. A long ball forward to some Maximum with the chest control, and once again Wilfred Ndidi does what he does so well. Remember, he's the man that replaced N'Golo Kante in that midfield for Leicester City. He wins the ball back. O'Brien, diagonal ball towards the edge of the penalty area towards Kelechi Iheanacho, easily headed clear by Fernandes. And it's a Newcastle throw right on the halfway line, in between the two managers, Brendan Rodgers and Steve Bruce. 0-0, 21st minute here at the King Power Stadium. Alan Hudson alongside me.
Indeed, he's so good at that, isn't he? That position that he plays. I mean, Shelby's tried to run round him. He's just stepped across him. No chance of getting past him. He's excellent in that position.
If you like a stat, Alan.
Sure do.
Since his debut, he's made 555 tackles, Wilfred Ndidi, in the Premier League. That's 121 more than the next best, which is N'Golo Kante.
Well, that just tells you everything you need to know right there and then.
What happened to N'Golo Kante? Did his career flourish after leaving Leicester City?
No, it was all right. I think it...
Mistake by Soyuncu. Willock has picked his pocket. Joe Willock for Newcastle United, 1-0. A mistake by Soyuncu at the back, and it's been pounced upon by Joe Willock, the goal machine for Newcastle United. Soyuncu got back and got something on the shot, but it trickled past Kasper Schmeichel and into the net. And on the basis of what we've seen in the previous 10 minutes, it's nothing less than Newcastle deserve, and a blow to Leicester's top four hopes. 21 minutes in, Leicester 0, Newcastle 1.
I mean, it's a great goal, but Soyuncu, the ball comes back, he's got plenty of time. I mean, he just ends up dilly-dallying on the ball. He tries to be too clever, turn out to his left-hand side, and there's Joe Willock on it like a flash. Takes a great touch, goes down the left-hand side, and then uses his left foot, cuts across Schmeichel and goal to the side end. It's a fantastic finish, and that man, Joe Willock, again.
Well, he found the corner. Joe Willock and Kasper Schmeichel could do nothing about that. Soyuncu in a seated position, just staring at the turf in frustration. It was a sloppy piece of play by the centre-back. But what about Joe Willock? He's now scored in 4 in a row. The previous 3 were all as a substitute. The first to do that since Papi Cisse for Newcastle in 2012. His 5th Premier League goal of the season, and that really has put the cat amongst the top 4 pigeons here at the King Power Stadium. Mark Albrighton, though, has won Leicester a corner with the ricochet of Jacob Murphy, and Leicester City need to respond pretty quickly.
Yeah, they need to up their game and quick, because if they don't, the way Newcastle are playing, they're going to create more chances. That is for sure.
Only Manchester won more points from losing positions in the Premier League this season than Leicester City. They got a point at Southampton, having fallen a goal behind last Friday, and they've got to do it all again here. Corner kick taken on the Leicester left to Tielemans, tees it up for the volley, well, the half volley on the edge of the area by James Maddison. It's blocked before it could trouble Martin Dubravka, one off the training ground, and had that worked, it would have been absolutely spectacular. It wasn't a bad strike by James Maddison either.
Tielemans from the corner, he's absolutely fizzed it out to the edge of the D, and Maddison, that's the guy you want there, waiting just to strike it. He's actually connected really well, but I think it's Matt Ritchie gets a block just in the 6-yard box. Good effort.
I don't want to labour the golf club analogies here, Alan, but that was more of a one iron.
That was like a stinger. That was a stinger. That was maybe like a 3-iron.
If it was my 3-iron,
stinger,
it would have gone back to Kasper Schmeichel, but it was a wonderful corner from Yuri Tielemans. Free kick to Leicester from the right-hand side. Tielemans again, the chance for Fofana. What a save to his left-hand side by Dubravka. Not cleared yet. Put back into the edge of the 6-yard box by Soyuncu. And now it's Ricardo on the edge of the area. Has to roll it all the way back to his goalkeeper. Wesley Fofana hasn't scored for Leicester since signing from St Etienne. He nearly did then, and perhaps should have done, from that Yuri Tielemans free kick.
Yeah, I'm going to say it was obviously it was a great opportunity, but I think you have to give the goalkeeper a little bit of credit. It was a fantastic save, wasn't it? I mean, Tielemans' balls into the box have been great at this first half.
Ball forward into the Newcastle penalty area, and Krabs got a really good call from Dubravka, who smothered the ball before Maddison and Vardy could take advantage.
Wonderful cross in there. We're just seeing it again from the free kick from Tielemans. He gets up above everybody and it's a great header, but fantastic save. Really unlucky.
Excellent contact by Fofana. Either side of Dubravka, and Newcastle would have had a big problem there. But Dubravka stood firm, did his job. 25 minutes gone. Leicester City 0, Newcastle United 1. 4 points from their last 4 games will secure Premier League football next season for Newcastle after their fantastic April, which has drawn them clear of the bottom 3. 8 points from 4 games for Leicester, and they'll be playing Champions League football next season. But the memory is still fresh of last season when they dropped out of the top 4 on the final Wednesday of the season. Mark Albright's got a problem here on the Leicester left touchline. Leicester have won the ball back. Tielemans' pass ricochets off Willett kindly for Murphy. Back post is Callum Wilson. Murphy to the penalty area. It's Callum Wilson who's at the near post. And in the end, I think he's fouled Timothy Castagna, so Leicester have a free kick. And Mark Albright may need some attention down here, limping very heavily on that left leg.
Yeah, it looked like a bit of a sore one. Just waiting to see the replay on it. It's not actually showed us yet, but another great breakaway from Newcastle. Murphy's done excellent down this right-hand side. Just couldn't quite get it into Callum Wilson there. But can you imagine if Newcastle played this good throughout the season, where they would be? I mean, they've been excellent. I mean, Steve Bruce must be over the moon with this performance so far.
Higher than 17th, I would guess.
Yeah. Oh.
Brendan Rodgers comes to the edge of his technical area and claps above his head. His team need encouragement here. Christian Fuchs, have just seen a shot of him on the Leicester bench. He was promoted to the subs bench after the injury suffered by Johnny Evans. Leicester in possession, trailing by a goal to 0 as we approach the 27-minute mark here on a Friday night on 5 Live Sport. Fofana has come the best for Leicester so far to equalising with that header from the Tielemans free kick. Madison back to Fofana. To the right-hand side he goes, and Castagna just wandered into Newcastle territory. Gets it back from Ricardo. Back to Fofana, centre circle, rolls the ball gently to Soyuncu, whose mistake led to the joke that separates the sides here at the moment in the East Midlands. Fofana in the centre circle, chops it back onto his right foot, side-footed pass to Castagna. Newcastle in their bright yellow kits are steadfast and organised. There's very little space out there for Leicester to capitalise on. Here's James Maddison, inside left position, going across field here. So Maximum is the defender. He finds Castagna. Castagna, right corner of the penalty area to Tielemans. Go with Ricardo. Tielemans to the touchline or the byline on the right-hand side. It's a hanging cross that goes over everybody and is retrieved just before he goes out of play on the touchline by Albright, and a left-footed cross by Ndidi this time. It's headed clear by Ritchie, but a throw into Leicester 10 yards from the corner flag on their right-hand side.
That's better pressure from Leicester, keeping them in that defensive third. Throwing in crosses, they're actually moving the ball quicker, that's giving them the room to deliver balls. This is much better from Leicester.
Throwing taken to Iheanacho, difficult one for him to deal with, and in the end it's out of play off the boot of Ricardo, and Newcastle have a throw 10 yards outside their penalty area on the left-hand side. Tomorrow's Premier League commentary on 5 Live Sport, Sheffield United against PM. Reports from all the key games on the last day of the championship, of course, and League Two. We've got a picture on our screens of a rather disconsolate-looking Johnny Evans in the suit that he turned up to the ground in, and a bandage around his right foot. And that's a worry for Leicester City, a week and a day ahead of the FA Cup final and these massive games as they attempt to qualify for the Champions League. Excellent play by Callum Wilson, wins the ball back for Newcastle, finds the feet of Joe Willock. He's fouled on the near touchline. That's a silly foul for Leicester to give away. So Soyuncu and Albright. Now John Joe Shelby, who's walking rather slowly towards the
Ndidi's pocket, got the ball off him, and that doesn't happen very often. But yeah, giving away a soft free kick here, and an opportunity for John Joe Shelby to whip it in.
Leicester's defensive line is a yard inside their penalty area. Shelby goes for that corridor of uncertainty. It's a flicked header clear by Soyuncu. He now stands on the edge of his 6-yard box, and Maximum on the left-hand side beats a couple of Leicester players, gets this shot in. It was always going wide, but it's almost like someone presses the fast forward button when he takes possession, Alan. Half an hour gone, Newcastle lead 1-0.
I'm sitting watching them as if somebody's just put him into fast forward, thinking, thank goodness I'm not up against him. I don't know if I can stop that.
Is it the +6 on your Sky machine?
Yeah, exactly.
I think. Yeah, not plus. Yeah, so you're happily retired now since Tottenham's come into the league.
Quite happily just sit here and watch him.
Castagna for Leicester, right-hand side. Iheanacho rolls it back to Tielemans. Indeed, he's got some room here. Couldn't bring the ball under control and then gives it away. That's sloppy by Wilfred Ndidi. Jacob Murphy took possession for Newcastle, who look threatening every time they counter-attack here against third place Leicester City. Almiron out to St Maximin. Back he goes to the Paraguayan Almiron, who gets the return ball down the left touchline towards the byline. The challenge came in from Castagna, and the award is a corner kick. Darren England had a good long look at that. Awards the corner. VAR, I'm sure, will be taking a look at it. Alan Hudson, what do you think?
Well, it was a great burst of pace from Almiron there into the box. Castagna, you don't want to go to ground. Oh, I'm talking about if he gets a touch, it is the slightest touch.
Have his studs grazed the ball?
That's what I'm saying. He'll be glad he's got a big set of studs on, because he's just got a touch on that, I think.
Well, VAR will be taking a look, of course, as they do with all these situations. Darren England from Doncaster, his first season on the select group of referees. Check complete, corner comes in, headed clear by Soyuncu. Newcastle still in possession though, right corner of the penalty area. Out to the right touchline to St Maximin, who runs into Kelechi Iheanacho, who just shoves him off the ball like a rag doll.
That's how you do it.
Fofana, long clear towards the halfway line. That's a super flick on by Jamie Vardy. Doesn't reach Ricardo though. Fernandez sends a long ball to the Leicester penalty area, and it arrives in the grateful hands of Kasper Schmeichel. Long throw out to the left touchline to Mark Albrighton into the path of Kelechi Iheanacho, a flicking field. Albrighton couldn't get on the end of it. Here come Newcastle again. It's end-to-end stuff. Newcastle looking terrific on the counter once more. Willock, right-hand side level with the edge of the penalty area, a yard in from the touchline. Soyuncu is the defender. He's going to have a run at him here. The goal scorer. Low crossing is an excellent one. It doesn't reach Wilson at the back post. It's clear by Castagna, but once again, Newcastle, they look electrifying coming forward.
Yeah, Joe Willock looks in the mood. He's out here on this right-hand side. One-on-one with Soyuncu. He's not scared to take him on. He just pushes the ball down the line. Wonderfully whipped in ball. Low and hard, but it's cleared for a corner kick.
Newcastle have lost 8 of the last 10 against Leicester in the Premier League, but they've won 2 of the last 3 here at the King Power Stadium. They lost 5-0 here last season. Remember, a couple of big wins for Leicester since they returned to the Premier League in the Great Escape season. And Newcastle were relegated. And then a Shinji Okazaki overhead brings to mind in a 1-0 win on their way to the title. I think that was a Monday night. Claudio Ranieri's side ground out a few 1-0s along the way to seal the title. Here comes the corner, swung into the back post, and it's 2-0! Kasper Schmeichel couldn't keep it out, and Leicester City suffer from a corner kick again, and Paul Dummett, he hasn't scored for 132 games in all competitions, and he thunders ahead of home here at the King Power Stadium, and Leicester City are rocking. Newcastle heading for safety. Leicester 0, Newcastle 2, 33 minutes in.
What amazing delivery from Ritchie. We know he can do that. Dummett, he's up like a salmon there at the back post, over Fofana. Great header. The pace is on it. Schmeichel gets a hand to it, but there's nothing really he can do. It's by him in a flash. He does well to just even get a hand to it, but the power's on the ball. Great finish.
Steve Bruce absolutely delighted on the Newcastle touchline. 132 appearances for Paul Dummett without scoring. It's his first goal since January 2016 against Manchester United. Well, if you want a new contract, that won't hurt his cause. He's been at Newcastle a long time, Paul Dummett. A great serve to the club, and that was a terrific header. We did warn Leicester fans who will probably know about their softness at set pieces, and it's happened again. Now they've got a massive mountain to climb if they want to take 3 points here tonight. 3 of the 8 required to secure Champions League football. Remember, after tonight, away at Manchester United next Tuesday, away at Chelsea, home to Tottenham. This would really put the cats amongst the pigeons in the top 4 battle.
It's an amazing race, isn't it? It's really starting to heat up now, and this result, is brilliant for the league. So very interesting, but I think this is what annoys like the Newcastle supporters. I mean, look how well they're playing tonight. You want to see this more often.
They've been in complete control after the first 5 minutes or so of the game, it's fair to say, and I don't think 2-0 flatters them at all, Alan, on the balance of play.
Not at all.
Well, what can they do? Tielemans, nice ball between the lines to Iheanacho, and here's James Maddison into the penalty area, and it was blocked by Kraft. There was no great conviction in the finish there by James Maddison, a sign perhaps that confidence is ebbing for him. One back by Albrighton, the cross in, back post, what an effort by Iheanacho with his left foot, and it's saved brilliantly to his left-hand side by Dubravka. His second magnificent save of the game so far, and it stays 2-0.
What a game this is. Unbelievable. This is end-to-end. This is a basketball game at the moment. Mark Albrighton picking the ball up on the left-hand side. He swings the ball in. Great. Finds Iheanacho at the back post. Great connection. Dubravka again with a fantastic save.
I don't think Iheanacho could have hit that ball any better at the back post. It was a great dummy around the centre lane, in the middle of the goal on the edge of the 6-yard box by Vardy. Lovely strike by Iheanacho, difficult ball to handle, and Dubravka to his left-hand side was equal to it. And it remains 2-0 to Newcastle. Excellent first half here at the King Power Stadium, 36 minutes and change into it. Here's James Maddison again with the number 10 on his back. Edge of the area is Iheanacho trying to bring the ball under control, fails to do so. Flick forward by Shelby. Leicester winning back though. Here's Tielemans. He has his pocket picked by Saint-Maximin, and now he plays the ball through to Callum Wilson. He's in behind Fofana. Wilson has Soyuncu to beat. He's on his own here, Callum Wilson, and in the end it was a scuffed shot that may have taken a slight deflection and didn't really trouble Kasper Schmeichel.
Just again, great play from Newcastle, defensively excellent, willing to work hard. Saint-Maximin pinches the ball, great through ball and run from Wilson again. He just doesn't get the connection he's looking for.
Tielemans for Leicester into the penalty area to Maddison. He tries to cushion it towards Jamie Vardy. If ever Leicester City need goals from their record Premier League goal scorer Jamie Vardy, it is now. Tielemans, centre circle, spins away from Callum Wilson. Ricardo back to Castagna. As we approach half-time here, plenty of talking points for this first 45 minutes. Iheanacho tackled on the edge of the penalty area by Almiron, who does work both sides of the ball very energetically. Ricardo's gone to ground just by the byline under a challenge from Matt Ritchie. There's no free kick. Newcastle have a goal kick. Dubravka is in no hurry whatsoever to go and retrieve the ball from behind the goal. 2-0 Newcastle lead, 38th minute, Alan Hutton.
Oh, it's been a great game so far. I mean, chances at both ends, both teams really going for it. Newcastle have been excellent, well worth the 2-0 lead. Obviously, Leicester have had a couple of opportunities, but on the whole, I think Newcastle and Steve Bruce will be absolutely over the moon with this first half performance.
Jamie Vardy, 13 Premier League goals this season for the Leicester striker, but only one in his last 10. He ended a scoreless run of 11 games in all competitions against West Brom here recently. From Leicester's perspective, it's Kelechi Iheanacho who's been scoring the big goals for them recently, and they need more from their front two and others tonight to get back into this game. They trail Newcastle by 2-0 at home. David Moyes, who I'm sure is glued to his radio tonight, Alan, will be delighted with this. So will Thomas Tuchel. Jurgen Klopp will be enjoying it as well as the race for the top four enters the final 2 weeks of the season. Leicester in possession. Here's Castagna, right-hand side. Square ball to Fofana, edge of the centre circle. All 11 Newcastle players behind the ball. Floats the ball out to the left touchline to Maddison, switches it to his right foot. And he goes back again infield to Fofana. And Newcastle just shifting across left to right very effectively. Ball curled in, Kraft gets a good header and concedes the corner before Jamie Vardy could do any damage at the back post, and he sends a big thumbs up to Timothy Castagna for the quality of the ball in.
Yeah, it was a quality ball in from Castagna. He spots the run early. Vardy with a fantastic run, just really unlucky there.
Vardy's doing the double teapot at the back post. Leicester have a corner on their left-hand side. The right boot of Tielemans. Well, he sent a lovely ball to the edge of the area last time, didn't he? What's he going to produce this time? Curled into the back post, the heads go up. It's headed clear, or half clear, by Newcastle at the back post. It was Jacob Murphy who was there. Can they counter-attack again? No, it's been quashed by Ricardo with the foul just outside the penalty area. Free kick taken from massively the wrong place by Jonjo Shelby, trying to send some maximum clear. You heard the whistle of Darren England, the referee. Newcastle will have a free kick 10 yards outside the rim penalty area.
Yeah, again, great play. Willock gets his body in between the player and just feels the pressure and goes down. Just takes the pressure and the sting out of the game when Leicester were on top and they had the opportunity.
Arsenal could have done with him last night, couldn't they?
I think they've made a mistake there. I mean, I think he's obviously the sub-performances, and then tonight I think he's been excellent. I think they've missed a trick there.
Darren Fletcher and Jones will discuss the Arsenal situation at half-time. Here on 5 Live Sport, we have 4.5 minutes remaining of the first half. Leicester City 0, Newcastle United 2. A win here for Newcastle, and it would put 12 points between themselves and the bottom 3. That should be enough, although not mathematically. That will be enough, let's be honest. Dubravka outside his penalty area, put it past to Emil Kraft, who, although he's a right back, the Sweden international, he's pretty tall, so he's slotted nicely into the right centre-back role for Kieran Clark here in this starting 11 tonight for Steve Bruce's side.
He's dead half, hasn't he? I'm sure he can deal with that no problem, especially when you've got the likes of Murphy, willing runner up and down the line.
Nice build-up play here by Newcastle, but Callum Wilson just couldn't quite bring the ball under control. The ball has stayed in, Albrighton, and they've fallen asleep here, Leicester. Here's Willett to the byline. It's a challenge by Wesley Fofana. They conceded another corner kick, but everyone in blue fell asleep there after the ball was kept in by Mark Albrighton. Corner kick to Newcastle.
Newcastle are just all over everyone, aren't they? They're not giving anybody a moment. There's Mark Albrighton just managing to keep the ball in the pitch there. But who's first to it? Callum Wilson. He's breaking with pace, trying to make things happen, and they end up winning a corner out of it.
I just wonder if Brendan Rodgers is considering bringing Jose Perez on at some stage. Twice leading goal scorer for Newcastle United, a 5-year spell at St James's Park. He was briefly Leicester's record signing when he came to the King Power Stadium. He's on the bench tonight. Curled in by Ritchie, headed clear on the edge of the 6-yard box. They dealt with that one, Leicester City. Ritchie, though, with another excellent cross to the back post. Not quite dealt with by the Leicester defence. Fofana concedes another corner, and they are at 6s and 7s every time the ball goes into the penalty area. That time the culprit was Timothy Castagna.
That Leicester backline are really struggling with some of the deliveries that have been put into the box.
Could have done with the call there, couldn't he, Alan?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think somebody needs to speak to him and let him know what's going on behind him, because he can't see it. So he's kind of been left dangling there, if you want, Mark Albright.
All Johnny Evans can do from the director's box is look on as his side fall 2 goals behind to Newcastle United. Another corner comes in. It's a swing of the left boot by Almiron, and it's an awkward one for Kasper Schmeichel. It must have gone up in the air, but didn't go out. And in the end, Kasper Schmeichel got a fist on it to get it clear. Now Leicester on the counter-attack themselves. Maddison checks on the halfway line. Needs to get the ball forward a little quicker because Newcastle now back in number. He dwells on it slightly, and Newcastle are back and organised. Plays it out to the left-hand side to Ricardo. Ricardo has Vardy down the left touchline, level with the edge of the penalty area. Working here against Kraft. Back he goes to Ricardo. At the back post is Mark Albright, and I think they've switched the two Leicester wing-backs, unless that was just from the previous corner, because at the moment Albrighton is at right wing-back. Ball forward, lovely ball forward to the corner of the penalty area by Maddison. Low crossing by Vardy, doesn't reach Kelechi Iheanacho. Clear by Fernandes for a throw into Leicester down their left-hand side. 43.5 minutes gone, Leicester trail 2-0.
That's better, they're moving the ball quickly. That quick pass from Maddison into Vardy's feet, then cross. If they slow it down, it allows Newcastle time to get back into their defensive shape.
Leicester in possession through Timothy Castagna. Wide on the right-hand side is Mark Albright, and that's a more natural position for the former Aston Villa man. Here's Fofana centre circle, and now the left foot's in the white boots of Soyuncu. First time ball by Ricardo, gets it back from Vardy. The curling cross with his left boot is headed clear spectacularly by Fernandes. Soyuncu wins it back for Leicester. Here's Ndidi halfway inside the Newcastle half. Too much on that pass, and he tries to bend it into the path of Mark Albright, and it's out of play on the far side for a Newcastle throw on their left-hand side inside the final 30 seconds of the first 45 minutes. Leicester 0, Newcastle 2.
Yeah, that was a poor pass, but the passage I played just before it was lovely movement from Pereira and Vardy. They linked up really well out on this left-hand side there. So maybe that switch is going to work for them.
Leicester in attack here through Jamie Vardy. He's into the penalty area. Vardy for Leicester, and it's Dubravka who leaps. He tries to lob it over the goalkeeper, Jamie Vardy, who's now down in the 6-yard box. But Dubravka made himself incredibly tall, leapt in the air, and saved the day again. 3 good saves by Dubravka in this first 45 minutes. He will not be beaten here tonight. Murphy for Newcastle tries to thread it through towards Almiron. Failed to do so. Leicester have possession back. There'll be a minute of time added on at the end of this first half, which has not gone at all to plan for third place Leicester, with the memory of dropping out of the top 4 and the final week of the season last season. They would hate for history to repeat itself. Maddison flicks it with the outside of his boot to Ricardo, who I think is now officially switched to left wing back with Albrighton on the right hand side. Here's Fofana, checks his and plays it to Maddison. We're starting to see more of the ball, but that's a ball into no man's land, really, on the edge of the penalty area. Not a good clearance by Ritchie, though. Falls to Ndidi. Here's Albrighton on the right hand side. It's blocked, the cross by Matt Ritchie, and that'll do it. Darren England blows his whistle, and Brendan Rodgers has arguably the biggest half-time team talk of his season here for Leicester City. Willock, Dummett, the goal scorers. Were there 32,000 inside the King Power Stadium, they will be stunned into silence, Alan Hudson. What do they do in the second half to try and turn this around? Such a vital game in the race for top 4 for Leicester City.
Well, I was watching Brendan Rodgers there. He was very animated. He wasn't happy with the way Leicester were playing with the ball. Everything was really slow. They were given opportunity for Newcastle to get back into their defensive shape. To get back into this, they need to move the ball quickly. What worked for them in the first 5 minutes? Getting Maddison on the ball in that number 10 position and making things happen, but do everything quickly.
A fabulous first half, Darren, for Newcastle United. Leicester 0, Newcastle 2 at half-time.
Thanks, Arlo. Thanks, Alan. So the biggest half-time team talk for Brendan Rodgers since this stage of last season. Surely it can't happen again to Leicester City. Second half commentary from the King Power on the way. But first, let's get the latest news on 5 Live with Stuart Clarkson.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thanks, Darren. It's all about the elections tonight. The SNP has won the Holyrood seat of the former Conservative leader in Scotland. One of 3 gains so far as it aims to win a majority in the Scottish Parliament. 5 Live's James Shaw is in Glasgow for us tonight. Still a long way to go, James. It's going to be tomorrow before we get the final picture, I think.
That is correct, but another significant result just in within the last couple of minutes, and that's Dumbarton. Labour have held on to Dumbarton. It was a very marginal seat, just a few hundred votes separated Jackie Bailey, Labour's MSP, from the SNP. She has slightly increased her majority, and that will be a huge relief to the Labour Party in Scotland, but it doesn't take away from the fact that across the board the SNP are doing extremely well, holding on to all their constituency MSPs at the moment and gaining 1 from Labour and 2 from the Conservatives. But according to our polling expert, Professor John Curtis, this fact that Labour has held on in Dumbarton might mean, in fact, that although the SNP will be the party in the Scottish Parliament, they might not get an overall majority and be able to govern alone. And that might make a difference as to whether or not there would be a second independence referendum.
Interesting. Thank you, James. Let's go to Wales now. Results coming thick and fast. 2/3 of the way there. I think 3 Senedd seats changing hands so far. Looks like Welsh Labour could be doing better than expected. Mark Hutchings is in Cardiff for us, Mark.
Yes, you're absolutely right. The Welsh Health Minister Vaughan Gething has just been re-elected here in Cardiff South and Penarth with an increased majority. No surprise there, but this is the latest good news for Welsh Labour, who have produced a set of results that has exceeded, I think, most people's expectations and probably their own. They look probably the 29 seats they held in the last, well, a total of 60. They could even gain more seats when the regional lists are announced tomorrow. That could give them the chance to govern alone without the help of another party. They did lose the Beg of Clwyd early on, but that's been more than the Rhondda in the South Wales Valleys from Plaid Cymru, defeating the former Plaid leader Leanne Wood. It's been a bad set of results for Plaid Cymru. A good showing by the Welsh Conservatives, just one back. Brecon and Radnor from the Lib Dems, who could be wiped out. Just 3 constituency seats to be declared to go. One is Cardiff West, the seat of Mark Drakeford, who is certain to be re-elected as Cardiff West member and certain Labour government.
Thank you, Mark. Westminster seat there for the first time in more than 60 years in the English elections. The Tories taken control of at least 8 councils, including Cornwall, Nottinghamshire, Northumberland and Pendle. You can get more details on today's election results on the BBC. Stephen Nolan here from 10 o'clock with more live coverage and reaction. Some other news for you tonight: 12 foreign destinations. Green travel list. It means anyone returning from quarantine from a week on Monday. Portugal, Israel and Gibraltar are included on the list, and most adults under 40 will be given an alternative to the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine when they're offered a COVID jab. It's because of the rare chance of blood clots. There have been just 242 cases out of 28.5 million doses, but the UK medicines regulator said today that the risk is slightly higher in younger age groups.
To say it's been a tough 12 months or so is an understatement.
Perhaps for you, your family, friends,
the people you depend on, like shop workers or the postal service, and of course, the NHS.
It's been testing, trying, and sometimes tragic.
Everyone's mental health is important.
And next week on 5 Live,
we'll be examining all aspects of collective well-being.
Leading up to 2021's Mental Health Minute next Friday.
Mental Health Awareness Week.
On 5 Live and across the BBC.
5 Live.
Fletcher and Jermaine Genus.
So second half commentary to come, and a mountain to climb in the Premier League for Leicester City. But before we move on to talk about Arsenal, earlier on this evening UEFA announced that 9 of the original European Super League clubs, including the Premier League's Big Six, have been given a financial punishment. Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United and Spurs, as well as Atletico Madrid, AC and Inter Milan, have also committed to UEFA and its competitions. Real Madrid, Barcelona and Juventus, though, are set to face appropriate action under the governing body's disciplinary process. The trio have refused to completely abandon the idea of a breakaway league. This also comes as the UK government, the City fans should not travel to Turkey for the Champions League final now that the country has been added to England's travel red list. The FA are talking to UEFA about alternative venues. Jermaine's back at half-time. Jermaine, we've kind of left this subject for now so that we could make sure that we got enough time for it. Arsenal, for the first time in 25 years, won't be playing European football next season. Were you as baffled as me last night by the way they went about that second leg against Villarreal?
Completely. It was really hard to kind of point what they were even doing at times. I thought that Villarreal absolutely got the better of them tactically. I thought that they were a better side over both legs anyway. I thought Arsenal were very fortunate to even get the penalty over in Spain. I didn't think it was a penalty at all. So they, you'd been given that lifeline. You'd been given something to hang on to, and I expected, it all to come out in that game. I expected them to really put Villarreal under a lot of pressure for the whole of the game. And I listened to Mikel Arteta's comments afterwards, and I think from a managerial point of view, you can sympathise with the fact that he feels that he may have had the players, but they weren't at their best. But I think in moments like that, they weren't up against a top side where you kind of go, oh yeah, I can understand what's happened there. They already really laid a glove on Villarreal, and I was as confused as to what I saw. Yeah.
It looks really deep-rooted, though, doesn't it? Because if you take last night in its entirety, the season, you can see how deep it is. Because the players shouldn't need motivation for a night like that. It should take care of itself. Then you look at the situation and say, but if the manager can't get them prepared for a night like that, he might be the problem. When you start to look at the global problem here, layers and layers to this. This is not something they can fix with a managerial change, probably, and it's not a situation they can fix with a couple of transfer windows. This is deep-rooted for Arsenal, and it's going to take a period of time, it would seem, to get them back to where they want to be. I mean, there's talk at the moment about challenging Manchester United, challenging Manchester City, challenging Chelsea and Liverpool. They've got to worry about West Ham, Everton, Tottenham, teams around them, United, before they can even think about the sides in the top four.
I think, if you speak to most Arsenal fans, they know exactly where they are and what their demise has been over the years, and it's been a gradual decline over a period of time. I think there hasn't been any improvement, if I'm totally honest, in the performances since Arteta took over. Their league position tells you that quite clearly. There seems to be some very weird situations that have happened this year. You know, the desperation to sign Pierre-Emerick and what's happened to him this year. I know he had malaria and stuff last night, but it's not the first time he took his captain off or not played him.
Goalkeeping situations shocked me, Jermaine, in the summer when they allowed Emi Martinez a better goalkeeper than Bernd Leno, and he's gone on, having finished the season really well for Arsenal and established himself as one of the better keepers in the Premier League this season.
100%. The only thing I would say to that is they went out of their way to get before, really. I mean, they had Emi Martinez on their book and for some reason didn't see what we're seeing now. But it runs way deeper than that. Those are decisions that have been made, and I think the questions are now, what do you do? Because you've got a few options. And bring someone in who you believe is going to have a better style of football. He's going to get better out of the players that he has. Or you're going to have to heavily invest in this group of players. If I'm totally honest with you, they've got some players that have gone out on loan and impressed. I think Maitland-Niles has done reasonably well at West Brom. Joe Willock performing out of his skin in a Newcastle shirt. And I'm sure Arsenal fans will be hoping the likes of him and Reece Nelson will come to the fore. But essentially, I don't know what Arsenal are going to be next year. Really don't.
Wait, just on Joe Willock.
Yeah.
What do you think the thinking was then? To Newcastle.
Ridiculous.
He's played 11 Premier Leagues. He scored 5 goals during that period. He scored in 4 successive matches. He's 21. He's played 40 games for Arsenal in the Premier League. I think he's only started 12 of them, but he's been around the place. He looks to be the kind of building block that the next generation of Arsenal needs to have. Why do you think they allowed him to go out to Newcastle when he looks at the moment as though he'd walk into the Arsenal team? It's a baffling decision.
Yeah, I mean, Willian's offered nothing, hasn't he, really, all year. All year, Willian, it stinks of what it probably stank of originally, which was got a great couple of years here on top money. I'm just going to cruise. Yet you've got a hungry young player, Arsenal through and through, desperate to impress. Seemed a strange one to me. Rated Joe Willock, and I felt that he obviously had a look at him during the Europa League games and felt like he wasn't going to add anything, or even because Arsenal are not one of those teams where they can really, they're not in that place anymore where it's like out and get some experience and then we'll bring you back in. Top teams do that because they've got top players already in those places. Arsenal are not in that place at all. There's been a lot of decisions that have been strange, throughout the season, which is why they are where they are now. There's an argument to say, I've spoken to some Arsenal fans that were like, look, granted, it'd have been great to get into the Champions League through the Europa League. The only benefit would have been to attract better players. The reality is, we've been absolutely obliterated and probably wouldn't even got out of the group stages because of the, how poor we are and how poor we have been. There's a reason why we're 9th in the league. They don't score goals at home anymore this season. There's a lot of problems there, a lot.
When they seem to keep replicating the mistake. The definition in the dictionary of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. And the mistakes that we see from them are happening again and again and again. And lessons don't seem to be being learned from the mistake that they make. They just seem to be ready to make another one. I mean,
the only defence, right? The only defence that I can give Mikel Arteta, right, is I go way back to kind of Pep Guardiola's reign as Manchester City manager when he very first arrived. And do you remember when he was trying to get them to play a certain way and it was a mistake and it was another mistake? Adamant that was the way that he wanted to play football, and the only way he rectified that was buying players. Really, you can coach players to a certain extent, but if they're not good enough, they're not good enough. And he kind of went about it and said, look, he's not good enough, get rid of him, get rid of him, get rid of him. And the mistakes that we've seen all year, play a certain way that they can't. and he doesn't seem to have another way of playing that makes that team a little bit more comfortable.
Do we have to now just kind of accept that for the foreseeable future, Arsenal are now a mid-table Premier League team? And I make that point because financially they're struggling to. In terms of attracting players, they can't get the ones they want to make a big step. And the recruitment there doesn't seem to be of the same standard as, say, a club like Leicester, who seem to go and find diamonds and polish them and turn them into top-class footballers. Arsenal don't seem able to do that. Do we have to accept that that's now for the foreseeable future?
I mean, I would say no, just purely and simply because I don't think that's what the football club is about. I don't think it's about accepting that. I just think that they need to find a way to win some games of football. It's as simple as that. But yeah, I know that the situation is not looking good for them. They look completely like a mid-table team right now.
Jay, I've enjoyed it as always. Have a great weekend. It's our anniversary tomorrow. Lucas Moura Day, 2 years ago tomorrow. He scored the goal in the... Enjoyed that. So have a good day tomorrow.
Cheers, Bob.
That's Jermaine Genius. He'll be back next week on the Friday Football Social. So the players are back out for the second half. Joe Willock's now scored in 4 successive matches, Arlo. The first Newcastle player to do that for 9 years. Leicester City have a mountain to climb, don't they, in this second half?
They absolutely do. We're just underway here, Darren, 5 seconds into the second half, trailing by 2-0. Ricardo in possession on the right-hand side, and now Leicester can attack through Yuri Tielemans, and now Kelechi Iheanacho. Yeah, Pape Cisse, 2012, the last Newcastle player to score in 4 straight Premier League games. Joe Willock has been absolutely sensational for Steve Bruce's side of late, scored some absolutely vital goals. Leicester in possession. It's just interesting, we were talking at half-time, Alan, about the makeup of that Leicester defence. Luis Castagna, the right centre-back, and the fact that it was all Brighton that came in for Johnny Evans, and that's left Fofana and Soyuncu as the centre-backs. They barely played more than 2 hours without Johnny Evans this season in the Premier League. Iheanacho rolls it back to Castagna, and you wonder why Daniel Amati wasn't brought in, so you could keep Castagna and Ricardo in the wing-back positions.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's exactly what we're speaking about. As soon as we've seen the change going to be made, we thought Amati right away come in. He's played there before, he understands the position. Defender you want the people round about that you've played with, so they just kind of a little bit all over the place at the moment.
Well, it's Newcastle's to lose here, and they're comfortably behind the ball, compact, and Leicester struggling to find the spaces. A victory, if they see it out, that would see Newcastle 12 points clear of the bottom 3. Home form, by the way, it is pretty alarming. They have won 9 here. Only Manchester City, the champions-elect, have won more. But this would be an 8th defeat. Only 4 teams have lost more. They've only drawn 1 game in the Premier League. That was on Boxing Day. Castagna into the edge of the penalty area, or the right corner. And plays a looping ball into the area by a Leicester player. I think, is it Maddison? It's gone onto the roof of the goal. It's a goal kick, and Maddison has taken a blow in the face and is down in the penalty area.
Yes, little chip ball into the box there. I think Maddison's just taken a little knock to the face. Just looking at it again, yeah, I mean, it's just, is it Fernandes just comes through the back of him a little bit. It wasn't meant, only by accident. But here from Leicester, it looks like Brendan Rodgers has actually had a word to say, right guys, let's quicken up the play, because that's what they were missing in the first half.
It's been a similar tale, Alan, to St Mary's last Friday. Southampton went down to 10 men. Vestergaard sent off in the 10th minute. Was subsequently overturned upon appeal, but Southampton well worth the point on the night. And as Brendan Rodgers said, Leicester were leggy. They were tired, and they've looked a little bit similar tonight. Can they find some inspiration? I mean, when you look at inspiration, when was the last time they came from 2-0 down at home, Alan, to win a game 3-2? There's one particular one that springs to mind.
Honestly, you're never going to let that go, are you?
Long header forward. It was Aston Villa in the title-winning season, wasn't it? 3 late around. And you were saying at half-time as well, it's free kick to Newcastle offside of Jamie Vardy. The when full, this place is one of the noisier arenas in the Premier League.
Yeah, for me it can definitely be intimidating. I think that's what the team, as in Leicester, are missing at the moment. So when you're coming out and there's that noise, the home fans are on you. It can be intimidating at times. It can really put you off your game, and I think that's probably one of the reasons that they have had a lot of defeats at home.
That ball against Jamie Vardy inside the Newcastle half of the field. Free kick. 9 minutes gone. Newcastle lead 2-0. They've only won 4 on the road all season, Newcastle, but recently a terrific win at Burnley when they were a goal down and Alan Maximum came on only for 33 minutes. He scored and provided an assist, and there's an excellent ball into the penalty area along the ground into the 6-yard box, smothered by Kasper Schmeichel before Callum Wilson could tap into an empty net. And then, of course, the late drama, the 95th minute equaliser against Liverpool. Iheanacho with a decent turn on the halfway line, but Paul Dummett defends it excellently, the score of the... Down the line it goes to Almiron. His is intercepted by Fofana, who is fouled by Matt Ritchie right on the touchline. Fofana keen to get on with it very quickly, takes the free kick to Castagna. Now here's Yuri Tielemans. It needs something quick and something pretty special in the second half here from Leicester City. The other teams chasing top 4 will be licking their lips. West Ham United on 58 points, 3 points outside the top 4 behind Chelsea, host Everton at the weekend. Chip forward to Vardy in the penalty area, but he can't get any serious purchase on it. Loops a ball harmlessly to Dubravka.
Jamie Vardy's been really quiet tonight, hasn't he? He's intelligent runs in behind you. Know he's going to do that, but he's not had a lot to feed off of.
Well, there might be encouragement for the likes of Tottenham Hotspur as well on 56 points. Chelsea 61 points. They go to Manchester City tomorrow. City could seal the title. Leicester on 63, but they're a on 56, and they face Leeds United away in the early kick-off tomorrow. Liverpool there or thereabouts as well with the game in hand after the postponement at Old Trafford on Sunday. So if Leicester do slip here, if Manchester City do manage to beat Chelsea tomorrow in that Champions League final curtain raiser,
yeah, it's such an exciting race for that top 4 at the moment. I mean, as you say, even Tottenham will be watching this thinking, right, we've got an opportunity.
Soyuncu for Leicester to the left touchline, and Albrighton into the penalty area to Ndidi. That took a deflection, I think, that cross, perhaps Maximum, and there was a brief moment of concern for Dubravka, but then he caught it and dropped to the ground quite comfortably.
I thought it was going to be one of those moments you were looking for, a little bit of magic or deflection, however you want to look at it. Ndidi just tried to dink the ball up to the far post. He's taken a little action, but Dubravka had the ball, no problem.
A couple of Leicester substitutes out to warm up. One of Perez, who I did see on the monitor, Alan, having a little laugh at a joke with his former teammates in the tunnel. 5 years at Newcastle United. This is his 2nd season at Leicester City. I imagine he would like to have a go against his former club here, particularly with the situation as dire as it is at the moment for Leicester City. Castagna to Fofana. Fofana, side of the right foot to James Maddison. If he were to come into the game, it might be James Maddison, who has struggled to dictate the play, putting 5 or 10 minutes, but has faded quite alarmingly out of the action. A peripheral figure for Leicester the game so far. Jamie Vardy. Here's Willy Fofana striding forward from centre-back. A long looping ball out towards the flank, misjudged by Jacob Murphy. And Albrighton able to side Maddison. That's a better ball to the corner of the penalty area to Iheanacho. Maddison into the area now. Fernandez with the header. It's bouncing around on the edge of the penalty area. A bit of tennis between both sides. Then Tielemans is shoved in the back. And it's a free kick to Leicester, 4 or 5 yards outside the penalty area. Callum Wilson was back. And this is a moment and a distance from which James can affect the game.
Yes, ideal position. I mean, if he wanted to just pick the ball up and sit it down somewhere that he wanted to have a strike at goal, this would be it. Just left up, crying out for a right-footed strike, so this is danger.
A bearded James Maddison. Although if it looked like if he did wind the window down on his way home, that facial hair might disappear pretty quickly. Sweeps his hair back. Dubravka on his goal line. Say what, 3 or 4 yards outside the penalty area, just to the left of the Newcastle goal. They've set a 5-man wall. Nobody lying behind it. What can James Maddison do here to get Leicester City back in the game? Maddison kills it, takes a deflection, and it wasn't far wide. Dubravka was scrambling across his goal, and in the end, Maddison with his hands on his head, but it's a corner kick.
Great strike. I'm just looking there. I think it comes off Giorgio Shelby. Yeah, just takes a nick off him. But, oh, it was arrowing on target there. Unlucky James Maddison.
Corner on the Leicester left. Castagna makes a run into the near post. Tielemans has his left arm raised. 54 minutes in. Floats it into the edge of the 6-yard box. The heads go up, and how did that not go in? From Wilfred Ndidi. He looked like it was arrowing towards the corner. It went the wrong side. Stays 2-0.
Really unlucky. This is much better from Leicester. Great delivery. Tielemans. Oh, that's a great header as well. He does well to get his head flush on that. It just creeps by that back post. Really unlucky.
Well, Wilfred Ndidi. He has 1 goal to his name in the Premier League this season. Look out for the final 15 minutes, though, Alan. If Leicester can get themselves back in range, they have scored 20 goals in the last 15 minutes in the Premier League. That's the have conceded 13. Only Crystal Palace have conceded more goals. But it's going to take quite a turnaround here at the King Power Stadium to deny Newcastle victory here tonight. Soyuncu in possession, left-hand side of his own penalty, forward by Albrighton. I think Newcastle are happier sitting back and absorbing this Leicester pressure in the second half. They're slightly less adventurous than they were in the first 45 minutes, but that's a giveaway to Matt Ritchie on the halfway line. He gives it to Almiron, cuts inside of Castagna. Lovely pivot and pass to Ritchie. Nice cross, but just too far ahead of Wilson, and Kasper Schmeichel gathers by bootstraps.
You know, that was my only worry in the second half. Because Newcastle are up 2-0, that they would sit back.
In from Leicester again. Foul on Jamie Vardy. It was a lovely ball through by Mark Albrighton, and it's a free kick. It's been brandished here to Kraft, the Sweden international. Left corner penalty area, not really shooting distance, but a good position nonetheless.
Yeah, great position to deliver a ball. Great pace, I mean, from Jamie Vardy for one of his age. He just doesn't seem to be... He can still get in behind defenders, and that's what defenders really hate, his pace.
56 minutes in at the King Power Stadium. Night has fallen in the Englands. Leicester City 0, Newcastle United 2. Scoreline so far that will suit Newcastle down to the ground. There'll be virtually safety for them, but what a blow it would be for Leicester City's Champions League hopes. It looks like Yuri Tielemans with the right foot will curl this towards goal. In it goes, and be cleared by the Newcastle back line, nodded back penalty area by Ricardo. Wilfred Ndidi tried to swing a left foot at it, in doing so fouled a Newcastle defender. It's a free kick. It's Willock who's down on the edge of his own penalty area. Free kick to Newcastle. It's taken a bit of a whack there up.
Yeah, just goes to clear the ball, catches the man. I think it's Joe Willock. It's just been kicked from the back leg. I'm sure he'll be okay. But I enjoyed the stats that you were saying earlier on about the goals, the last-minute goals. So we should be expecting something. I think that's what we're.
Whether we get 3, that's another matter entirely.
The one problem I think, looking at Newcastle, as well as they've played, if they were to concede 1, it would be very interesting, because I think they would drop really deep.
Well, Jose Perez is warming up, but I wouldn't say with the most vigorous warm-up I've seen on a touch by a substitute in the Premier League this season. So on that evidence, I don't think Brendan Rodgers is about to make an immediate change.
More like a stroll.
Yeah. Stroll. A conversation with Brendan Rodgers with his coaching staff by the seats, rather than being on the edge of the technical area. Steve Bruce is standing on Maddison for Leicester. Between the lines finds Tielemans. Right corner of the penalty area in at foot. Square ball across the penalty area towards Ndidi. Forces him a little bit wide. Now here's Albrighton. Swings a right-footed cross into the penalty area. It's headed well clear up to the halfway line to Soyuncu. It was his miscommunication that led to Joe Willock's opening goal for Newcastle United. Paul Dummett with the ferocious header from the corner by Matt Ritchie with the second goal. Dubravka's made 3 excellent saves. One from Vardy, one from Fofana. And he hasn't been beaten yet. Halfway line to Soyuncu. Diagonal ball. Iheanacho's there, and it was inches away from being an excellent ball. It was over his head and bounced into the hands of Dubravka.
Great idea. Lovely ball from Soyuncu over the top. Iheanacho running onto it. But the way Newcastle play, they're deep, so it's very difficult to get the ball in behind them and stop it. It just ran away from Iniacho there.
Well, who's he summoned here, Brendan Rodgers? I think it's Ayoze Perez, who then picks up as he, I wouldn't say sprints to the dugout, but certainly a bit more intensity in that. And now Brendan Rodgers has got an arm around his left shoulder. So Ayoze Perez, it looks like, will come into the game. It's going to be fascinating to see who for. We're in the 60th minute, approaching the hour mark here on 5 Live Sport. Alan Hutton and Arlo White with you here tonight. Leicester City pushing for the Champions League, but stumbling here, trailing Newcastle United by 2-0. And changes are afoot as Ayoze Perez takes off his orange bib. Arrival is imminent. Throw into Leicester, down the left-hand side, level with the edge of the penalty, to Newcastle, down the left-hand side, level with the edge of the penalty area, taken by Matt Ritchie to Paul Dummett. He finds Joe Willock, and now Kraft will sprint forward in possession into the Leicester half. Leaves it for St Maximin. There he goes, pressing the fast-forward button again. A little shimmy and a sprint, and then a ball out to Ritchie on the left-hand side. The cross takes a deflection. It's headed clear by Fofana. Nodding back by Ritchie out to the left-hand side and the left touchline, and Almiron tries the nutmeg on Castagna. The ball has stayed in play. Castagna in possession, and again the outside of the boot flicked back to him by Tielemans. Nice flicking field by Maddison, and then indeed centre-back Soyuncu rolls it to the left touchline to Mark Albright, and he dinks it down the line to Jamie Vardy. Is he fouled? No, it's just a simple miscontrol out of play and a Newcastle throw-in on the halfway line.
Yeah, I'm interested to see this change when it eventually happens. Obviously, Maddison, we know how good he is and the quality that he has when he gets on the ball, but he has started to look a little bit leggy. Affected the game as much in this second half.
Would you sacrifice a defender and keep Maddison on the field, bearing in mind you need at least 2, if not 3 goals in the last half an hour?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thought, but I think that kind of plays into Newcastle's hands because they're quite happy to sit back, soak up pressure and then hit in the counter-attack. So it might work in their favour, but I totally understand that Leicester need goals.
Yeah, they do. 62nd minute. Perez is ready for action. He's just pulling down the sleeves of his royal blue undershirt. And he'll be coming into the game. Long ball forward by Shelby. There might be an offside flag here against Callum Wilson. He takes possession on the right-hand side of the penalty area. Tackled effectively by Fofana. The flag did stay down. Fofana now down the left touchline finds Mark Albright in a very tight area. He's put under plenty of pressure by Murphy. Leicester emerge with the ball in his own penalty area. Soyuncu out to the edge of the area to Castagna. Castagna right-hand side to Ricardo, who's yet to recapture the magic of his form before that terrible injury. Suffered here, actually, on a Monday night, the final Premier League game before the lockdown. It was a 4-0 victory against Aston Villa, and he tore his ACL in that game. Tielemans, edge of the penalty area to Vardy. Vardy digs it towards Kelechi Iheanacho on the far side of the penalty area. It was a backtracking Dummett who sorted his feet out, managed to get his head to it, and clears the danger. And it's going to be, well, this is extraordinary. It's Wilfred Ndidi, who is the destroyer, the winner of possession in the centre of the park for Leicester City, who makes way for Ayoze Perez. That's an interesting one, Alan.
It is interesting. I'm just trying to look at Brendan Rodgers. He was giving out information there to Tielemans, so I presume that they're going to have a slight change in formation, but we'll just wait and see how that works.
Tielemans is filled in for Wilfred Ndidi. It'll be his creativity from a deeper position now, but he's got Perez and he's got Maddison either side of him, towards the penalty area. It's risky, but this is the requirement.
Yeah, they're literally going 3-1-2 in that midfield, with obviously Maddison and Ayoze Perez pushed up, trying to make things happen with the 2 up front and then the white boys. So yeah, they're going for it.
Rodgers has sacrificed industry for creativity as his side are desperate to get back in this game. In possession now, left corner of the penalty area again. Maddison a bit heavy with the second touch, and that enabled Matt Ritchie to the ball through towards Callum Wilson. Wilson in at the edge of the penalty area. He's around Schmeichel, and he plonks it into the back of the net. And Newcastle United are in dreamland here at the King Power Stadium. Callum Wilson makes it 4th minute, Castagne's back pass fell short of the goalkeeper, and Callum Wilson pounced for his 11th Premier League goal season. No sooner had Brendan Rodgers made his substitution than it's backfired completely. Leicester in disarray. Leicester 0, Newcastle 3.
Look, this is exactly what I just said to you a second ago. Yes, they're going for it, they need the goals, but what happens is you don't have the extra defender there, which creates space, which plays into Newcastle's hands. I mean, obviously, it's a great ball from Matt Ritchie down the line. He's been doing it all night. Castagne gets there, slide tackles it back to the goal. It's way short. He's actually asking Schmeichel to come out, but he doesn't come. Wilson's onto it in a flash again, and he just has the composure to just knock it to the right-hand side of Schmeichel, and it's an open goal. Fantastic goal again from Newcastle.
Steve Bruce punched the air in delight. Callum Wilson, well, what a signing. £20 million from Bournemouth. He scored 8 goals last season when the Cherries were relegated. That's his 11th of this season, but his first since a brace at Everton in January. Here come Newcastle United again. Wilson's in the penalty area, played out wide to Maximum. The cutback could have been very good. It was just behind 2 Newcastle players, including Joe Willock, on the edge of the penalty area. They've committed men forward here, Newcastle. There may be gaps at the back here for Leicester to exploit, but they've got to do something very special now. David Moyes, Jurgen Klopp licking their lips at the prospects of this result here on a Friday night. And remember, Leicester City had 8 minutes, Alan, against 10-man Southampton. It was 0-0 at the time to go 10 points clear of 5th place. They could only get a point, and the wheels have come off here on the following Friday at home to Newcastle United. And remember the next 3 games: Manchester United away, Chelsea away, Tottenham at home. All of a sudden, the top 4 is looking. Finds Ayuso Perez shoved over in the penalty area. I don't think Darren England is going to be interested in that as a penalty kick. It was more shoulder to shoulder, and then the foul by Perez, and it's a free kick to Newcastle United. 66 minutes gone. Leicester 0, Newcastle 3.
Like you're saying, as a player, those thoughts start to creep back in your memory from last season. That's the thing as well. A great opportunity against Southampton, didn't take it. What's happened tonight in the run of fixtures, that would scare anybody, especially when you're looking into the top 4. So, big mountain to climb now.
Those 8,000 Leicester fans in on the final day again would have a big role to play, Alan, to raise the spirits of their side. Callum Wilson with an excellent finish to make it 3-0. So we've had 66, almost 67 minutes here. And here's James Maddison crossing the halfway line under pressure. Joe Willock, he gets the ball back from Kelechi Iheanacho, then gives it away straight back to the Newcastle United side in all yellow. Callum Wilson. Here's John Joe Shelby down the right-hand side, well anticipated by Seunchu, who steps in front of Willock, almost intercepted by John Joe Shelby, picked up by James Maddison. He gets it back from Kelechi Iheanacho. It's all rather slow and ponderous by Leicester at the moment. In the Newcastle half, right-hand side is Ricardo. Ricardo back to Castagne. Leicester rocked by the re-injury to Johnny Evans in the warm-up. He dropped out of the starting 11, out of the 18-man squad, or 20-man squad, I should say, with his plantar fasciitis. Mark Albrighton came into the side. That's a lovely nutmeg by Kelechi Iheanacho, who gets it back from Maddison, edge of the area. Excellent shot, charged down by Dummett. Falls here, left corner of the penalty area. The ball and awkward for Albrighton, brought it under control. Here's Tielemans, steps inside. What can he do? It's another block by Paul Dummett, who's thrown himself in front of everything in that Newcastle United back line. Leicester have it back again. Ricardo. They need something to happen soon. Wide on the right-hand side is Albrighton, into the penalty area. There's the chance, another save. Perez killed it towards the near post, the top corner. Dubravka stuck out a hand, kept it out, and concedes the corner.
I think that was a save for the cameras there, Dubravka. It was up to that, his left-hand top side, but good save. Unlucky there from, obviously, Leicester, but I think, see, when you actually think about it, Brendan Rodgers is going to be disappointed. It's two...
So there's a substitution has made way for Luke Thomas. So that, I would imagine, means Albrighton again back to right wing back and Thomas wing back. Tielemans curls in the corner kick. It's headed clear on the edge of the penalty area. Nice turn by Maddison, retains possession for Leicester. Here's the young left-back Luke Thomas, curls in. The header comes in from Fofana. Didn't have the power of his first half effort, about 8 yards out, and it bounces off the turf, and it's easy for Dubravka. 69 minutes gone. Newcastle lead Leicester 3-0.
Yeah, sorry, as I was saying there, I think Brendan Rodgers will be really disappointed with mistakes and a set piece that has led to the 3 goals. So he's not going to be happy with that.
A slip by Albrighton, and it's Matt Ritchie who takes possession. Here's John Joe Shelby, whose left wrist is up. Number 8 on his back, takes possession again. Shelby spins away from a couple of Leicester players and calmly plays it back to Kraft. What Leicester do miss as well in an attacking sense, and as a player that you played against recently, Harvey Barnes out injured. You came across him when he was on loan at West Brom, Alan, didn't you?
Yeah, I felt his pace, and that obviously he was fantastic at West Brom. He's been outstanding this season. It's just a real shame that he's going to miss the rest of the season, obviously, in the Euros, because he was a big hit for Leicester. Real powerful running, and he made things happen.
Complication after an initial knee surgery. He's had to go under the knife again. He'll be back next season, but they miss his pace and his goal-scoring ability here, Leicester City. 20 minutes remaining. What a scoreline we have at the King Power Stadium. And all eyes after this, if it stays like this, will turn to Ellen Road tomorrow, 12:30. Leeds against Tottenham. There's a deep cross by Soyuncu, a good leap by Vardy. Back post, Joe tried the spectacular volley. It's another brave bit of defending by Newcastle United to prevent an effort on goal. Leicester have the ball again. Is Perez just outside the penalty area towards the right-hand side. Reverse ball into Iheanacho, now he's in goal, run out of options and tried to invent something by attempting but it was easily blocked. And it's a foul conceded by Leicester. Newcastle have a free kick halfway inside their own half on the left-hand side.
Newcastle are just happy getting back into their shape, making it really difficult for Leicester to try and find any sort of room in behind them. They're obviously 3 goals up. There's no need to rush for them. They're just willing to see it out. It's all on Leicester to try and make something happen.
Well, Leicester will be on 63 points from 35 games. Chelsea at Manchester City tomorrow, 1 point from 34 games. West Ham who entertain Everton tomorrow, 58 points from 34 games. Spurs are at Leeds. Excuse me, that West Ham game is Sunday. Spurs have 56 points from 34 games. Liverpool, 33 they played, 54 points. It's very, very tight.
It's heating up nicely.
Liverpool have Southampton tomorrow evening. Approaching the 72-minute mark. And here come Leicester into the Newcastle half through Soyuncu. It's a good turn by Iheanacho, but then Fernandes takes over for Newcastle. There could have been another chance on the counter-attack, but the ball is a little too strong and it's helped out. No, it's not helped out. Soyuncu has left it open for Newcastle to take possession. Here's Saint-Maximin, edge of the penalty area. Bangs left corner of the area. Leicester got back in good number. He turns away from Fofana. Newcastle don't need a fourth. They would like one. They're happy taking time off the clock here as they work their way back to the halfway line to Paul Dummett. Dubravka, that was a decent opportunity on the counter-attack, but once again, the Leicester defender caught in possession in a dangerous area.
Yeah, Soyuncu caught possession again, but well played Newcastle. They're hunting everything down tonight.
Shelby on the halfway line. Nutmegs the referee, Darren England. Almiron, what a ball that is! Callum Wilson! Off the post, Wilson again, 4-0. A sensational through ball by Miguel Almiron. The first effort by Callum Wilson, cannon back off the far post. The angle was so tight for him to put it away past Kasper Schmeichel, but he did so. 73 minutes gone. An incredible scoreline at the King Power Stadium. Leicester City 0, Newcastle United 4-2 for Callum Wilson.
That's one of the best passes I've seen in a while for Almiron. Absolute defence splitter. And Callum Wilson again onto it in a flash. He's just opened up his body, right foot, just curled it round Schmeichel off the inside of the post. It comes back to him, and by the way, that's a hard thing on the bounce to then tuck that away. He's done excellently well. Great goal.
Well, this could be a dagger through Leicester hearts in terms of top four. Where do they go from here? They're getting battered at home by 4-0 in what has been talked about locally as a must-win game, with the 3 Big Six teams to face before the end of the season. But you've got to say, Newcastle have been sensational tonight. They've taken their chances and they've looked dangerous virtually every time they've come forward, Alan Hutton. And they lead by 4-0. Here's James Maddison, edge of the penalty area, gets a shot in. Once again, it's blocked by Paul Dummett and spins away for a Leicester throw.
Sensational is the word for tonight. They have been absolute brilliant. Defended really well, and you're right, every time they've went forward with a through ball, it looks like they can create something.
Leicester scored 20 goals in the last 15 minutes of games, the most in the Premier League, Alan. They need 5 in the last 15 minutes of this game alone.
I think that's a tall order.
I do too. Although I remember a season in the early 90s when both league games between these sides ended 5-4 in the same year. But that would be utterly remarkable. Here's some maximum. It might yet get worse for Leicester. Newcastle 5-0 here last season. 1-1 Newcastle, and the role will be reversed. Who's gone down injured there? Is it
Joe Willock? I think
Joe Willock.
He pulled up. He's tried to dink the ball over the back line and just keeled over.
He's down on the aim while Leicester in the opposition penalty area. It's Vardy that was scampering through. It's Kraft who concedes the corner kick, and Sean Longstaff will come on, and it's always a worry when a player is clutching the back of his leg, and that's what Joe Willock is doing here. So whether Willock was the man to come off originally for Sean Longstaff, it would make sense. I don't know, but it looks like Willock might struggle to continue here.
Look, he is stretching it, which makes me think it could either be a pull, or hopefully it's just cramp. That's what I'm hoping for, because he's been absolutely fantastic since going to Newcastle. They're stretching it out, which makes me think it could just be a little bit of cramp.
Leicester about to make a change as well, as Nempalis Mendy will come on, a holding midfielder, and that is a sure sign that I think Brendan Rodgers has accepted their fate tonight. They've been torn to shreds by Newcastle United. Who would have seen this scoreline coming? 4-0.
I would never, coming here, I would never have thought I would have seen this result tonight. No chance.
And this is 8 days before an FA Cup final for Leicester, and they've still got to go to Manchester United on Tuesday. James Maddison will be wrapped in cotton wool for those battles ahead. He trots to the sideline, and Mendy comes on. Longstaff is on. Did Willock go off? I'm not entirely sure. I'll have a little count up of the numbers, but Longstaff is on. Willock is off. He's gone behind the goal, away to our left-hand side. Corner swung in, right foot in for Fana. He got there, flicked off his head, couldn't turn it goalwards. The cross comes in from the right-hand side by Iheanacho, takes a deflection. The clearance falls to the feet of some Maximam on the edge of the Newcastle penalty area, given away to Mendy, a rare outing recently for him. Castagna available on the halfway line. He goes shorter than that to Tielemans. Tielemans assessing his options. Leicester have slowed down considerably, particularly since the 4th goal. What a hammer blow this will be. It's reminiscent of a 4-1 defeat on the south coast against Bournemouth in the run-in during Project Restart, when the wheels came off completely. There's some calamitous defending. Very difficult for them to recover before the end of the season. But Manchester United made an 18-point swing before the end of the season. That's a good cross in. Tielemans with the attempt on the volley from the 6-yard box, and it goes over the bar. Still 4-0 to Newcastle, 12 minutes remaining.
I think that's what the big problem is, and what probably really annoyed Brendan Rodgers. It's the mistakes, like you just mentioned in that previous game, the 4-1 defeat to start of Project Restart. It's the mistakes. You need to cut them out, especially playing at this level. You cannot have any sort of slip-ups.
It's a hard thing to do for a club like Leicester City to make it into the top 4. If you look at historically, their best top-flight finishes, obviously they finished first in 2015-16. You have to go back to 28-29 when they finished second, 28 when they finished third, and 62-63, the Ice Kings, who finished in 4th. They are the only 4 top 4 finishes of top flight in the history of Leicester City Football Club. It's not for them to do, but they will be desperately disappointed if they get this stage again for a second straight season and let it slip away.
Yeah, of course, but you know what, I think with the manager that they have, the squad that they have, there's a hype there. Everybody thinks they should be in and amongst it.
All Brighton on the left-hand side, twisting and turning against back to goal, tries to find Iheanacho, and a slice step, and it's into the top corner. Well, Leicester are on the score sheet. Mark Albrighton with the goal. It was nicely created by Leicester. Albrighton, no celebration, turns round, jogs back to his starting spot. It was a lovely finish. Well, 11 minutes remaining. They've got Newcastle 4.
It was a great finish, wasn't it? They worked it well across the box there. I think it's Thomas there, just gets the ball into Vardy. Great cross. Vardy then turns, swivels, passes it on. A little step over from Iheanacho, and Mark Albrighton just cuts across the ball. It's lovely. Goal has absolutely no chance, and it just goes into that top corner.
First goal since Boxing Day 2018 against Manchester City for Mark Albrighton. Well, it is a goal in the last 15 minutes.
Game on.
So we guaranteed it was going to happen, but they're going to need an awful lot more in the final 10. The deficit is 3. But it's the 2-year anniversary today since Liverpool came back from 3-0 down to beat Barcelona 4-3 in aggregate, doesn't it?
Anything's possible.
Crazy things happen in football. Here's Shelby for Newcastle United. I doubt they'll be rattled by Mark Albrighton's goal as they want to see this out. Fernandez on the right touchline here is Murphy, put under some pressure by Luke Thomas. The long clearance by Dubravka, and it's all the way through to Soyuncu. Fofana into the centre circle. Right-footed ball out to his socks around his ankles out there. Looks tired. The penalty area, a sliding Dummett gets the clearance away for a throw-in on the Leicester 6 yards from the corner flag, taken quickly by Albrighton. Finds it. Back he goes to Castagna. Well, if we get another goal in the next couple of minutes, it might be interesting. Here's Soyuncu. And now Tielemans. Thomas infield, left corner of the penalty area to Mendy. That's untidy by Mendy. Straight out of play. Newcastle have a throw on their right-hand side, level with the edge of the penalty area. 9 minutes remaining. Leicester 1, Newcastle 4. Alan Hudson.
You just can't underestimate how big a loss Johnny Evans is. See, when we're actually sitting, you think about the goals and how they happen. I just don't think they happen if Johnny Evans tonight.
Yeah, they lost him during the warm-up. Don't forget the latest Peter Crouch podcast is out now on BBC Sounds. Former teammate of yours, golf partner.
Yeah, sure is. It's always good to see Peter Crouch play.
Does he have one of those long putters, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's probably about 6 foot long, I think, so, but for him it just looks normal.
Here come Leicester again towards the penalty area. Iheanacho trying to get in behind that Newcastle defence. It's Dummett, who's been excellent tonight, who concedes the throw. It was a searching ball by Albrighton down the right-hand side. Albrighton now has the ball above his head, takes a throw into Iheanacho, tight to the right touch. Languid chipped pass across to Soyuncu, 20 yards outside that Newcastle penalty area, chips it into around the penalty spot, four-headed this time by Dummett, doesn't fall to a blue shirt. Leicester have it back though, again, here's Vardy. What can he do? It was a flashing effort, and in the end it was always rising, and it was high and wide, and Mark Albrighton goes and retrieves the ball from off the tee behind the goal and rolls it to Dubravka.
A good strike there for Jamie Vardy. He does well out in that left-hand side of the box just to cut back in on his right. Hits it with great power, but he's just not got the accuracy.
Alan Saint-Maximin will make way. He's not going fast forward now, Alan, is he? He comes,
No.
substitute
Slow motion.
8 minutes to go.
So we know that he's got fast forward ×3 and slow motion.
That's virtually pause. But he's been terrific, and he makes way for Joe Linton to come on for Newcastle United. 7 minutes remaining. What a night this is for Steve Bruce, who is up for Premier League Manager of the Month for April, a month in which they were unbeaten in 4 games, and that's the decisive run, or the definitive run for Newcastle in their season. It was looking a little hairy. You remember back to that Sunday, Alan, when they got a very good 2-2 draw at home to Tottenham, but Fulham could have sent them into the bottom 3 had they won at Aston Villa, and they were 1-0 up through Mitrovic with 12 minutes remaining, but lost 3-1, and from that point Newcastle haven't looked back.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real worrying time for them there, but look, they managed to deal with it. It was a pressure situation and they've got out of it. They've upped their game, And look, tonight they've been outstanding. I mean, we can't take that away from them. Everybody has been at it. They know what's at stake here, and they've rose to the challenge.
6 minutes remaining for a Leicester City miracle. They've done some remarkable things in recent years. This might top the lot if they come back and get anything out of this game against Newcastle United. Fofana finds Castagna, right-hand side, into the feet of Iheanacho, who, apart from that left-footed effort in the first half, well saved by Dubravka, hasn't really seen a decent goal-scoring opportunity since. Fofana left-footed to Siyunchu. Left touchline here is the young substitute Luke Thomas. Back to Fofana by the centre circle. Long ball in towards the Leicester goal scorer Mark Albright, and it's good defending by Matt Ritchie, who nods it out for a corner kick.
Yeah, it was good defending there for Matt Ritchie. He's worked tirelessly all night.
Albright will take the corner, right-footed from the Leicester right, approaching the final 5 minutes. Left arm raised with this set piece. It goes into the near post. Perez was closest to it. Once again, Newcastle defended successfully. That was Longstaff, but here's Perez wriggling his way into the penalty area, and that's another excellent clearance by Newcastle to prevent the attempt on goal. Corner kick to Leicester inside the final 5 minutes. Taken short to Mendy, right corner of the penalty area. Back he goes to Albrighton. Can he wrap his foot around a right-footed cross? He can. It's headed clear by Newcastle. Here's Mendy. Albrighton making a run down the right flank. He goes to the left-hand side to Thomas. Thomas angles a ball into the area, into no man's land. Easy for Newcastle. Dubravka keeps it in play with his pink kit and yellow boots on. He's forced now to stoop down and pick it up. But time very much running out for Leicester City. And what a night this is for Newcastle United. This all but guarantees Premier League football at St James's Park next season for Steve Bruce's side.
What I think Newcastle have done really well tonight is their actual defensive line has only been maybe 5 yards outside their own box, so they're not allowing the space in behind for the likes of Vardy to run in, so they're cancelling him out. So Steve Bruce has obviously come up with that plan and it's working a treat.
Excellent ball by Perez to Iheanacho, cuts in on his left foot. Defenders are back, gets the shot in and scores! But he's wrong-footed Dubravka there, and Leicester have a second. 87th minute. Kelechi Iheanacho with yet another goal. It's a fabulous finish by the Nigerian, and it's his 11th Premier League goal of the season, and it's Leicester 2, Newcastle 4.
How amazing is it when you say how well a team's defending, then they go and score? Unbelievable what Kelechi Iheanacho does. Absolutely fantastic there. To cut back in, through a crowd of bodies, keeper has absolutely no chance. And if you want to default anybody at the moment, it's Iheanacho. He's actually on fire at the moment.
He's got 15 in his last 16 in all competitions. Gets a high five from Perez, who was involved in the move. Newcastle United make another substitution. Jeff Hendrick comes onto the field. Almiron makes way. Well, we've got 3 minutes plus time added on. Leicester need 2 goals to get 1 point.
You did say there was going to be goals at the end of the game.
And before the game, if you said that Leicester would score 2 in the final 15 minutes, you'd think they'd be in a very much better position than they are.
Yeah, exactly.
4-0 down when the 2 goals arrived. There might be a couple of nerves fluttering on the Newcastle side of things. Long throw taken down the left-hand side. Joe Linton battling for possession with Mendy. Loses out. Fofana finds Luke Thomas. He's got Iheanacho and Vardy. But he's got, well, those two have 4 Newcastle defenders around them. Mendy chips it to Castagna. 2 minutes remaining at the King Power Stadium. Leicester 2, Newcastle 4. Long ball into the penalty area by Castagna. Nodded clear to Shelby, who sends it out of play for a Leicester throw. Well, a third goal might set up the cat amongst the pigeons here, Alan, mightn't it?
Oh, it certainly would.
Never say never. Tielemans, cross comes in, slightly panicky from Newcastle, and it's another corner to Leicester City.
Steve Bruce is going mental down here. He is not happy. He's thrown his arms up in the air and everything. This is danger.
Life is never easy for Newcastle United. Corner swung in by Tielemans to the back post. It almost bounced kindly for Fofana in front of goal, but it's lashed clear by Newcastle United. But Leicester have a throw on their left-hand side, 20 yards inside the Newcastle half of play, as we approach the 89-minute mark here. As it stands, Newcastle going 12 points clear of the bottom three. They will have 3 games remaining. Long ball into the Newcastle penalty area. A bit of head tennis. Fernandez heads it clear, only as far as Mendy. It's going to be interesting to see how much time is added on at the end of the 90 minutes here. Castagna, right-hand side for Leicester with his white boots on, into the orange-booted Kelechi Iheanacho. Here's Fofana, socks round his ankles. Now Suyuncu. Ayoze Perez, square ball to Mendy. They need to get it into the danger area fairly soon here, Leicester City. 30 seconds left of the 90. 4-2, they trail Newcastle United. Suyuncu on the left wing. Switches back to his right foot. The cross is over everybody. Tielemans was the closest to it, but he's taken a flick off the Newcastle defender on the way, and it's yet another corner to be taken by Mark Albright.
Yes, a lovely ball in by Suyuncu. He cuts back on his right foot, in swinger. And I think it's Dummett just glances off the top of his head and gives Leicester another opportunity here.
Tielemans to take the corner, he swings it out, the heads go up, it was just over Fofana's head, the ball goes up, Craig Pawson, and it's got 4 minutes on it, so 4 minutes of time added on at the end here, and Leicester City need 2 goals in that time added on, which we're into now. They have a free kick, halfway inside the Newcastle half, centre of the pitch, Youri Tielemans to take it. Well, they came from 3-0 down to 3-2 at West Ham recently. Didn't quite get over the line in that one. Tielemans glides a ball into the penalty area. No blue shirt near it. The clearance, though, picked up by Albrighton towards the right byline. And the header comes in. Back post, surely! Dubravka with an amazing save to prevent a 3rd goal for Leicester City. That's a remarkable piece of goalkeeping. Not for the first time. Ayoze Perez denied against his former club. The ball falls to Albrighton on the right side of the penalty area, hanging across to the back post. Vardy is there, sends it towards goal, and it's over the bar. How on earth did Martin Dubravka keep that one out?
Wow, that would have been interesting if that went in. He's absolutely flung himself. Mark Albrighton does excellent down the right-hand side, crosses the ball to the back post. It's a little flick on, it gets to the back post. Perez with a great strike. I mean, he connects with it so well. And Dubravka just flings up an arm. It's instinctive. He just gets an arm up, gets a touch on it, and brilliant goalkeeping.
Well, 4-2 the score. Dubravka's been excellent. It's been a bad performance by anybody in a Newcastle United shirt. Had that gone in, it could have been a bit squeaky for the last minute or two at 4-3. But here's Mendy for Leicester. They're going to keep plugging away. They've given themselves a huge mountain to climb in the closing stages.
It would have been so interesting if that went in. Can you imagine, honestly, from 4-0 down?
Suyuncu for Leicester. Deep into stoppage time. Long ball forward towards Albrighton on that right-hand side. It was intercepted by Matt Ritchie. Newcastle in possession in the Leicester half through Joe Linton. Was he fouled there by Tielemans? He is. That's very, very good for Newcastle United. It's 10 or 12 yards outside the Leicester City penalty area. Very central position. Free kick to Newcastle. Time ticking away for Leicester City.
Well played, Joe Linton there. Just running the clock down. He's not daft. He doesn't have a shot, tries to play somebody in. He just holds the ball up, waits for contact, goes down for a free kick. Time wasted time.
It certainly is. Well into stoppage time here at the King Power Stadium. John Joe Shelby has placed the ball down very carefully. He's taken about 5 strides back. Now in England, the referee has blown the whistle. Shelby's going to have a go, and it takes a flick. It's a Dixon strike, takes a flick off Fofana on the edge of the Leicester penalty area and spins over the goal for a Newcastle corner.
That was a good strike there. Take a deflection, you get a corner out of it, but I'm very surprised that he chose to have a shot. I thought he would maybe try and get someone into the corner and find them in the corner and just hold the ball, but he went for it.
Darren England is telling the Newcastle players to get on with this and this corner kick. It's interesting that the Leicester CEO, Siwatana Prava, is here today, I think for the first time since the first lockdown. He's in the country, of course, ahead of the FA Cup final last season. It won't be too impressive what he's seen tonight. Here's John Joe Shelby for Newcastle, sends it forward, but it's behind for a goal kick. Kasper Schmeichel scurries behind his goal, spins the ball into the 6-yard box and takes and thumps it with his right foot high into the Leicester 9. Vardy can't get the flick on. Fernandez with a commanding defensive header, and here's Callum Wilson, who tries to shock from distance. Didn't quite catch it. You can see what he was trying. The ball on the volley. Trying to loop it over Kasper Schmeichel, who's now 20 yards outside of his penalty area. Loops it forward, but that's it. What a performance here by Newcastle United. Steve Bruce's side are 12 points clear of the bottom three. They raced into a 4-0 lead against a side chasing Champions League football. Leicester get 2 goals back late on, but too little, too late, and they look slightly precarious now in 3rd place, and visions of what happened at the end of last season when they were denied on the last Wednesday and Sunday of the season in terms of finishing in top 4. They've left themselves exposed now to the same happening again. Alan Hudson, what a terrific game of football.
Absolutely amazing game of football. End-to-end chances everywhere. I'm actually just looking at Callum Wilson at the moment. As he struck that shot there from about 45 yards, he's actually pulled up. He's holding his hamstring, so I'm wondering if there's a bit of a problem there. But out with that, excellent game. Chances at both ends, really exciting. And Newcastle deserved it. I think Steve Bruce will be really happy. Yes, he lost a couple of goals at the end, but he'll be happy.
Yeah, Marcin Dubravka and Jose Perez, former teammates, are having a little bit of a chat about that late chance that Dubravka saved for Perez. Brendan Rodgers, Darren, is out on the field shaking hands with everybody, but what a shocking night for his side and a terrific night for Newcastle. Final score here, Leicester City 2, Newcastle United 4.
Oh, hello, Alan, thank you. Brendan Rodgers out there shaking hands, but he looks ashen-faced. Ben says the top 4 race is wide open now. Gary says surely Leicester can't miss out on a Champions League spot again. Jordan says Leicester still have to play Manchester United, Chelsea and Tottenham. Tonight was a must-win. And Reece says you've got to give credit to Steve Bruce. He's turned Newcastle's fortunes right around. I mean, to all intents and purposes, Alan, now Newcastle are safe. Dubravka was outstanding tonight. Joe Willock's been a revelation since arriving on loan in January from Arsenal. But you can't get away from just how much better a football team Newcastle are when they can pick a team that includes Saint-Maximin and Wilson, and you'd expect those two not suffer the injuries they have all the way through this.
I wonder if they could have put this form together early on. I know they had injuries, but if they could have got somewhere near this, then they'd be in the position they're in. We know they're safe now. I just think that Steve Bruce has got the ability within that squad to really attack teams and do what they were doing. Defensively, very sound, but they always look dangerous on the attack with pace. So he'll be thrilled to have those boys back up front.
Arlo, from a Newcastle perspective, do you think the fact that they're now up to 30, they're safe, Steve Bruce has been nominated for Manager of the Month, do you think at any stage this is going to turn around in his favour with the majority of the fan base, or is that a lost cause?
That's a good question, Darren. It remains to be seen. I mean, surely he's done enough at this point to keep his job through the summer. A lot's going to depend on what happens with Mike Ashley. We know that he's filed this anti-competition suit against the Premier League after the collapse of the potential takeover last year by the group was called Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, wasn't it? He wants compensation, and he wants that deal to be resurrected. Now, if he's successful in his court action, maybe that deal is back on, and then who knows what will happen. You know, a sale of the club for £340 million perhaps might go through, and that might spell the end of Steve Bruce's reign. But at the moment, whilst their hands are tied financially, and he's got them to safety once again, and as you say, with Saint-Maximin and Callum Wilson in the side, they're a different side. So to me, on the outside looking in, he's done enough to get another season. Whether that will satisfy Newcastle fans remains to be seen.
Yeah. What about the Leicester City side of all this then? So they've got Manchester United, Chelsea and Spurs to play. If you look at the table, West Ham are 5 points behind with a game in hand. Spurs are 7 behind with a game in hand and still have to play Leicester. Liverpool 9 behind and they've got 2 games in hand. Surely this can't happen again. If you're a player, Alan, at the moment in that Leicester dressing room and you've lost tonight, you've dropped a couple of points at Southampton against 10 men, how much is it in your mind now that this is starting to happen again? Is there a psychological block potentially from this point on for this group of Leicester players?
Well, yeah, it'll be in your mind, that's for sure. Me and Arlo were actually talking about it, and I actually mentioned that I think obviously the Southampton game wasn't great. Obviously tonight, look, 4 goals. So those memories start to creep back in. that this happened last season. They've got such a difficult run, and obviously the final that they'll be looking forward to. But yeah, definitely, as a player, you do start remembering what happened last season, and it's going to be difficult for them. But they're going to have to put some good performances out there to try and get out the situation that they're in, or could be in.
Yeah, Ollie, you quite rightly kept referencing Johnny Evans during the commentary tonight, and the television cameras kept showing him in the director's box in the suit jacket with one shoe on and one shoe off. Clearly going to be a doubt for the FA Cup final next weekend. But it was interesting tonight. I can't recall seeing Leicester as open defensively as that for quite some time. If you look at the partnership between Soyuncu and Fofana, two very talented players, going into tonight's match, they played together for 127 minutes, and it looked like that tonight. They didn't look cohesive. They missed the presence of Johnny Evans. They missed that leadership and organisation. And if he is out for any period of time, that has to be a big concern for them.
Absolutely, and you've hit the nail on the head, Darren. They miss their leader, don't they? Johnny Evans, with all that experience with Manchester United, with West Bromwich Albion, when he signed here for, what, $3.5 million? I think Brendan Rodgers called it the steal of the century. He's been central to Leicester City's success over the last couple of years. What the problem is, and I've never had the condition, plantar fasciitis, I think it's called, and it's kind of a chronic situation that has to be managed. Apparently, it is outrageously painful when you suffer from it and when it flares up, and that's the situation that Johnny Evans, and Alan and I were watching the monitor before the game, and he was kind of going through his paces, wasn't he, Alan, in front of the Leicester physio, and he didn't look happy at all. And it's whether, I don't know whether painkilling injections work on a situation like that or not, but he certainly intended to play today. He was in the starting 11 but couldn't get through the warm-up, and that's got to be a real issue going into the FA Cup final in 8 days' time against Chelsea. I think you can probably write off Manchester United away on Tuesday night, although that's now a massive game for Leicester City. One surprise for me, though, was that Daniel Amati didn't come in. That if he had done, you could have kept Castagna and Ricardo at wing-back, which is their favoured positions, and Amati has played 8 games at centre-back this season. But yeah, Johnny Evans, a huge miss defensively for Leicester.
What about the goal-scoring situation for Leicester both again tonight? He tore in that section of the team for a period of time. Barnes is not in the team anymore because he's injured. They're over-reliant at the moment on Iheanacho, aren't they, to win them football matches, and that they need more than him, don't they, in these final 3 league games to step up and help them out of home.
To obviously Newcastle, I mean, at times they were quite deep, but what they've done is they didn't allow Vardy the space in behind to run into. Vardy was very quiet. He was tonight. There was no space there for him to run into. So, it has been down to him recently. We obviously know James Maddison has been out injured for a couple of months. He's just coming back, trying to find his feet. He even looked a little bit leggy tonight. So they did run out the ideas, but credit to Newcastle, they defended really well, even though they gave away 2 goals.
I just
really
Darren,
enjoyed you both tonight. Go on, Ollie, you're going to say before we finish?
No, super. Yeah, Brendan Rodgers is very good at coming up with systems that suit the players that he has available, and I now know, Leicester have got a 4-game season now. I just wonder whether there might be a change, whether it's time for the Kelechi and Jamie Vardy partnership perhaps to be broken up. I'm not entirely sure how he would do that, but it might need a rethink by Brendan Rodgers ahead of Manchester United away and the FA Cup final.
It's going to be fascinating. Manchester United at Old Trafford on Tuesday, then the FA Cup final, and still games against Chelsea and Tottenham to finish in the Premier League. Fellas, thanks very much for your work tonight. Arlo White alongside Alan Hutton at the King Power Stadium on a disappointing night for Leicester, but a fantastic night for Newcastle United. 12 points clear of the relegation issue. They can think about the Premier League next year. There's no need to worry about Fulham or anybody else behind them, because this recent little surge that they've managed to put together will keep them in the Premier League. And don't forget commentary of Sheffield United against Crystal Palace at 3 o'clock on 5 Live Sport tomorrow. Steve Crossman's on at midday of the championship seat, and that promises to be so dramatic. The headline act, of course, Derby County against Sheffield Wednesday. And if you want a bit more on that, the latest episode of our EFL podcast 72 Plus is available on BBC Sounds now. Thanks for your company tonight. The Friday Social back with myself and Jermaine next week. We will speak to you then. Stephen Nolan next on 5 Live, and that is after the latest news with Stuart Clarkson.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you, good evening. The SNP has failed to win one of its key marginal target seats for the Scottish Parliament. Labour held on to Dumbarton, with polling experts now suggesting that could mean the SNP miss out on an overall majority at Holyrood. The party's gained 3 seats so far: Edinburgh Central, Ayr and East Lothian. It'll now be tomorrow before the final results are in. It's the SNP leader, Nicola Sturgeon.
At this stage in the results, I'm feeling extremely happy and extremely confident we're on track in the SNP for a 4th consecutive election victory and to have the ability to form a government again, and that's an extraordinary achievement for any political party.
In Wales, 3 Senedd seats have changed hands tonight. Labour's won Rhondda from Plaid Cymru, and the Conservatives have won Brecon and Radnorshire from the Lib Dems, and Tories also included from Labour. Boris Johnson made a visit to Hartlepool earlier after the town got a Conservative MP for the first time in more than 60 years. The Tories have made gains around England, taking control of 8 local authorities, including Cornwall, Nottinghamshire and Northumberland. English local council elections, the Conservatives are projected to have had a 36% national share of the vote, Labour 29% and the Lib Dems 17%. Professor Sir John Curtis and his team have been working on the numbers for the BBC.
There is a 7-point Conservative lead over Labour, very much in line with what the recent opinion polls have been telling us. The Liberal Democrats are doing much better than they're doing in the current polls, and the current polls are only running at about 7%. But the truth is, Liberal Democrats always do better in local elections. Pretty much par for the course for the Liberal Democrats. Their pavement politics is still alive, but this isn't a sign of any significant recovery.
And some other news tonight: 12 international destinations, including Portugal, Iceland, Israel and Singapore, have been added to the government's green list, meaning people won't have to self-isolate if they arrive back in England from the 17th of May. Turkey, the Maldives and Nepal will be added to the red list from Wednesday because of increases in COVID cases there. The actor Noel Clarke is facing new claims of misconduct after more women came forward claiming they were sexually harassed on the set of Doctor Who. The BBC is investigating and says it's shocked by the accusations. Last week, Mr Clarke vehemently denied allegations of sexual misconduct or criminal behaviour. And 2 men have been treated in hospital after a fire at a block of flats near Canary Wharf in East London, which was partially covered in the same type of cladding used on Grenfell Tower. More than 100 firefighters spent hours tackling the fire.
It's been quite the race this for Lewis Hamilton. Started second on the grid, fell back behind Max Verstappen, but brilliantly repassed the Dutchman, past his teammate, and wins the Portuguese Grand Prix. Hamilton extends his lead at the top of the championship, and it's only going to be a 7-point lead. Get in there, Lewis. That was good, bro. Thanks so much, brother.
Better, stronger, faster. F1. Live race commentary from the Spanish Grand Prix. Sunday afternoon from 2.
On 5 Live Sports Extra.
Keep pushing. A lot of work to do.
Listen on BBC Sounds. Stephen Nolan on BBC Radio 5 Live.
Welcome along. As the red wall turns blue, guess what's on the agenda tonight?
Gillian Wendy Mortimer, commonly known as Jill Mortimer, Conservative Party candidate, 15,529.
What do you see?
They can see we did get Brexit done. I think what people want us to do now is to get on with delivering on everything else. And so, number 1 is continuing the vaccine rollout, making sure that we go from jabs to jobs.
I take full responsibility for the results, and I will take full responsibility for fixing things. We have changed as a party, but we haven't set out a strong enough case to the country.
The last 11 general elections read lose, 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 lose. Blair, Blair. Lose, 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 lose. What we need to do is to rebuild a winning coalition on the basis of policies that can appeal to working class people in Hackney and working class people in Hull.
So, it's been a election for Labour. Hartlepool's turned blue for the first time in the history of the seat. The Conservatives have made gains in councils across England. And we want to hear from you and your take on this tonight. What went wrong for Labour? What can they do to win back working class votes? Have the old rules of left and right fallen by the wayside? Does it all really still come down to Brexit? As you know, we're all about your calls. So here's how to get in touch tonight.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live. Call free 08085 909 693. Text 85058. Text will be charged at your standard message rate. Plus, see our privacy notice. bbc.co.uk/5 Live. Stephen Nolan on BBC Radio 5 Live.
Don't forget that number, 08085 909 693. Of course, Labour's nightmare is not the only story in town. There are big elections going on across the UK, with National Council going on in Wales and Scotland. Let's head to Edinburgh first. James Shaw is our reporter on the ground. So the SNP gained what they were looking for, James.
To some extent, Stephen. Yeah, I mean, to break it down, and the counting has finished for continue tomorrow, but no counting at this stage of the evening. So what we have so far is the SNP with 39 constituency MSPs. That's 3 up from the previous election equivalent seats. The Conservatives have 3 MSPs, and they've lost 2. Labour have 2 MSPs, they have lost 1. The Liberal Democrats have held on to 4 of their MSPs. But the really significant result there, which has happened just recently this evening, is that Labour have held on to Dumbarton. Their MSP there, Jackie Bailey, had a wafer-thin majority, and she's just increased it very slightly against the SNP. And according to John Curtis, Professor Curtis, our polling expert, that means that the chances of the SNP having an overall majority in the Scottish Parliament have significantly reduced. As he describes it, that is now unlikely. So that's really the most important thing, I think, that we've seen so far, Stephen. These are only indications, and we've got a very long way to go. The SNP are in a sense going to win. They will have the most MSPs. They will be able to form a government, albeit a minority, but they may not be able to form a majority government, and that could be important if they want to push independence referendum.
Why, James, is it so difficult for anyone to how the Scottish election will turn out?
I think it all comes down to the system of proportional representation which is used in Scotland. And so you have your 73 constituency MSPs being elected. That's the process we're in at the moment. Tomorrow we will get into the PR, the proportional aspect of it, and that is much more difficult to predict. It is meant to make up the numbers so that the number of MSPs you have more fairly represents the proportion, the percentage of the vote that you have. But I think partly begun on a regional basis, it is difficult to predict how that is going to, and that's really, you're right, that's the big uncertainty. I suppose it was the case that under the first past the post system, the SNP got 65 MSPs. By that means, they would have a majority. To Curtis, that is looking less likely.
Our reporter Mark Hutchings is in Cardiff for us tonight. James, thank you. Let's head to Cardiff. Mark, Welsh Labour doing better than predicted, right?
Yes, and certainly a lot better than the results in England. They're already up to 26, just one constituency seat. The regional seats declared they could match or even better their previous standing of 29 out of the 60 seats. And I've got with me, in fact, the First Minister of Wales, Mark Draper, who just won his seat in Cardiff West. Have your results exceeded your own expectations?
I think they're at the top end of what we would have expected. I never thought that we were as low as the 22 seats that were predicted for us at the start of the campaign. But I think today has been at the top end of what we would have hoped for.
And can you now govern alone, do you think?
We will, we've still got 20 seats out of 60 to declare on the regional lists. I'll have to wait to see how the cards fall there to know whether it's possible to provide the sort of stable and progressive government which Wales needs.
Because if you've got a divided opposition, the Plaid Cymru and the Tories can't work together, then you've effectively got a majority anyway, haven't you?
Well, when you're in a working environment, it's sometimes surprisingly easy for parties to combine on matters. So I don't think it will be quite as straightforward as that, but we are certainly in the territory where we would want to think that through.
I have oversimplified it, I admit. What are the lessons to learn for the UK Labour Party, for Keir Starmer, from Welsh Labour's performance?
Much too early, Mark, for me to have any sensible ideas to offer you on that. I agree it's an important topic that we'll want to work with Keir Starmer and his team to think that through, but I spent all today, as I have the last, focusing exclusively on Wales, and here we are, it's after 10 o'clock and the Cardiff West result has only just been declared.
Indeed, we're just the last couple in the building with a few extra people starting to scowl at me, possibly for you needing to be dragged away. Well, congratulations. Still to be done, though.
Thank you very much. No, exactly. It's not over yet by any means.
Okay, thanks very much indeed to the First Minister of Wales, Mark Drakeford, who, Steve, has got a pretty handsome set of results, very much against the results that we saw in England. And there is something really sure to be read into the differences between Welsh Labour's performance and UK Labour's performance.
We'll try to explore some of that tonight. Mark, thank you. What about the London Mel race then, where counting has finished for the night? Our reporter on the ground there in London, Susanna Mendonza. Of the huge number of candidates on offer, Susanna, who's in the lead?
Well, Sadiq Khan is in the lead. At the moment, it appears to be quite close between Sadiq Khan and Sean Bailey, who's the Conservative candidate. Because what we had today was counting in a larger number of Conservative areas. Tomorrow we've got more of the Labour areas being counted, because 7 of the super constituency areas in London today, another 7 tomorrow, so we'll get a clearer picture then. But as you say, there are a lot of candidates. We've got 20 candidates, a record number in London on this occasion.
Susanna's just fallen off. That's a shame, isn't it? We'll see if we can get her back. John Tong's waiting for us anyway, Professor of Politics at University of John.
Good evening, Stephen.
Good evening. Well, will we step through this then? What about in Wales? Looking like Labour are going to regain control.
Yeah, that's the one bit of good news for Labour today. They've done well in Wales. They have surpassed expectations, as Mark Drakeford were there. It's a very, very good result. Not many people anticipated Labour getting an overall majority in Wales, but it looks a possibility. Mark Drakeford polled very, very well throughout the pandemic with his cautious approach to lifting lockdowns. It's paid off. Labour's problems lie just about everywhere else, though. In England, they've lost votes in every region. If you draw a line from the Midlands to the top of England, they've lost votes or vote share in every region in England. And Hartlepool was one of the worst by-election results in decades. An absolute
John, let me
shocker.
ask you to pause there, because we'll be talking about this for the whole night tonight. I'll come back to you in just a second. I want to go back to Susanna in London and let her make her finish her point. When are we likely to find out the results, Susanna?
We're expecting to find out tomorrow. Yes, I've been told it's somewhere between 6 and 8 p.m, but there's a chance that it could go on into the next day. Certainly today, the counting took a lot longer than we were expecting. So if that happens again tomorrow, I would expect it perhaps to be delayed. But certainly, in terms of the mayoral election, the earliest will be tomorrow evening. And as I say, a lot of candidates there. I think the interesting thing with the London mayor is, although things might look close in the first round, it can completely change in the second round. Because in the second round, you have all of the other candidates. So we've got 20 candidates, 18 get knocked out. Only 2 go through, and then they count the second preference. And in that, I was talking to Sadiq Khan's team earlier, they really think that at that stage he'll probably get significantly more, they think, than Sean Bailey. Of course, we'll see what happens.
Susanna, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Right, John, let's get stuck into this together. And you at home, 08085 909 693. The top line message, John Tong, overall, Sir Keir Starmer has performed worse than Jeremy Corbyn did. What is Labour getting so wrong in England?
Well, it's not reconnected with those Brexit voters in the north of England in particular, and to some extent in the Midlands. Hartlepool was a classic example of that, a very Brexit voting constituency. The Brexit Party did very well at the last election, and the Brexit Party's votes have gone to the Conservatives. Keir Starmer was, of course, the archetypal Remainer, the person who wanted Labour to get a second referendum on, and frankly, the electorate has not forgotten that, and it appears the electorate has not forgiven that. Now, that's not to write Keir Starmer's... It would be absurd to write his political obituary at this early stage in the electoral cycle. We're 3 years out from the general election. How salient Brexit will be at that election is open to question. But at the moment, it looks like you've had a Hartlepool 2019 general election scenario. It still matters. It's still the big fault line. And the old social class politics have been turned on its head. I mean, nowadays, Labour are connecting better with the middle class than they are the working class. The working class has deserted the Labour Party in droves.
Why are you presuming this vote was all about Brexit? Why, for example, if you look at the substantial victory the Conservatives got with Hartlepool, why might that not be down to, or people feel, the Tories sold out the vaccine?
Yeah, it wasn't just
campaign,
about
for example. Why are we being presumptuous about Brexit?
Yeah, it wasn't just about Brexit, but if you look at the people who voted Conservative, all the early indications are that they were also pro-Brexit. But obviously the vaccine rollout was hugely helped Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson obviously was ahead in the polls in 2019. We know that by the general election result, and he was ahead in the polls for a long time after that. Then Keir Starmer, when we were in the worst of the COVID pandemic, the polls narrowed, and some had Keir Starmer's Labour Party ahead. But since the success of the vaccine rollout, you've seen that Conservative lead. And although some Labour people were hopeful that Decoration Gate, if you want to call it that, in terms of the Downing Street renovations, might have trimmed the Conservatives' lead, that really hasn't been the case. If you actually look at today's results, the percentage lead for the Conservatives, around 7% over Labour, pretty faithfully reflects those opinion polls of recent weeks. And it will put Labour on course. It would actually make a few more gains on what Corbyn achieved with 191 seats in 2019. They get it up to about 220 if you project today's result onto the general election, but still way, way, way short of where the Conservatives would be at a general election. I think it's very difficult for Keir Starmer. In the height of a pandemic, how can you get your policies across? But I think there are questions to be asked of him. One, what are your policies? Because I don't think he's managed to get across any of Labour's policies. And secondly, you go back to the last time Labour swept to office, they looked like a government in waiting. How many of today's shadow cabinet could be named by a member of the public? Do they look like a government in waiting where people think, yeah, that's a plausible government?
Well, let's speak to Harry tonight, 19-year-old. John's going to stay with us over the next hour. Harry, 19-year-old Labour activist from Worcestershire, voted for the first. Harry, good evening to you. Last year, in the 2019 general election. Phil is with us tonight in Newcastle, lifelong Labour voter until 2017. Hello, Phil.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. What made you decide to become a Labour member, and how do you feel about your party's result tonight?
Well, I initially became a Labour member when Keir Starmer was initially elected as leader. I was very disheartened at the 2019 general election results, and I hope that would hopefully give Labour the push that they needed to finally unite as a party. I envisage a better society for everyone where your gender, your race, your sexuality is of no consequence. And I think Labour is the party to really sort of establish that vision for me. And I really hope that they could unite behind Keir Starmer, but I am left very disheartened by the results of the local elections today. Yeah.
Have you got a theory as to what's happened?
Well, I think there's all sorts going on at the moment with the whole gunboat census jersey storyline and everything that's going on with that. I don't think you can exactly say that it was a coincidence that happened the day before an election was held, and I just think that it exploits a lot of Labour members voted for Brexit. A lot of them did, and I think they are sort of then tapping in to that desire to they're just
okay. Well, look, I'll come back to you in a second. And Phil, hang on there for me. Obviously, I want to hear from you as well tonight. But Lucy Powell can speak to us now. Lucy, the Labour MP for Manchester Central, Shadow Minister for Business and Consumers. Hello, Lucy.
Hi, good evening.
You know, we're here we are asking this question already in this current cycle. Why should Keir Starmer continue to be your leader if he's delivering results like this?
Well, there obviously are, very sort of difficult, devastating results for us today. There's no sugaring of that pill, but there's no resist, because I think whilst these results are sort of devastating, they're not totally shocking. This time last year, I was part of a group of people with Labour Together who wrote a very thorough and deep review into Labour's general election result from 2019 and why we lost. And what we found was, I think which other people will know, is that the red wall had really been crumbling for 20 years due to deindustrialisation and disaffection and disconnection with the Labour Party. We've had the 4 election defeats, with that last one being especially crushing. And we concluded that it would be an oversimplification for us to think at this point in time, a year ago, that simply having a new leader and Brexit having been done, that was going to bounce everything back for Labour. So it's a very, very difficult challenge we face. At the same time,
but what is the vision of your party?
Okay, just finish. At the same time, as a Conservative Party that is, very much sort of encroaching in our territory in terms of their superficial, I would think, offer of kind of more investment in areas like that, which is very attractive to people. So, that is why we have to, Keir has said very clearly today he takes full responsibility for those results, and we've got to accelerate that process to having an offer for the country that is about us being the agents of change. Because I think one of the things that struck me the last few days as well is that people were voting, in somewhere like Hartlepool, people were voting for change, but they weren't voting for the Labour Party for change, they were voting the Tory Party for change.
And does that mean your party has no vision to actually sell? That people could start analysing, are you good at selling it? Is Sir Keir Starmer good at connecting with the working class base that you need? But maybe it's because you haven't actually worked out how to become connected with the working class man and woman anymore.
Well, we've definitely become disconnected, yes, and that's what these results show once again, and that trend has been there coming for a long time. And you can't put this on one person's shoulders. This is a collective endeavour that we all have to do. We in the Labour Party, we like, often as members, as activists, as MPs, we talk about the wrong sort of issues. We're not focused. We've got to be addressing those key issues that people care about, which is having decent jobs close to where they live, a green industries, creating those jobs, decent homes, a world-class education, and pride in their high street and town centre. And we've got to have that located in the places that they live and the lives that they live. And we've spent too long either squabbling amongst ourselves or talking and focusing on the issues that people don't care about. And that isn't an overnight task. I don't think anyone, Keir or any of us, would be an overnight task.
And I get it, Lucy, why you're protecting your leader. But at the end of the day, that vision and that strategizing as to how do you connect with your base, what should the priorities be, what should the key policies be, that is down to leadership. Ultimately, that is down to Sir Keir Starmer. And he has failed miserably up to now. Why are you hanging on the back of him?
Well, not. Look, I think the last thing we need is a sort of.
Can I just clarify? Are you backing him?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I think the last thing we need is that it would be a distraction, and it wouldn't help move us forward in this situation, because we have had our traditional coalition of voters fractured over recent years. Yes, it was catalysed by Brexit and leadership issues and things like that, and internal squabbling, but it's been completely fractured and absorbed and taken over by a Conservative Party that's, changed what its priorities are and what it's talking about, and they've really sort of attracted that vote. So I think there is a future winning coalition for Labour, and we discussed this in the Labour Together report that I was talking about, which Keir Starmer thought was a really good piece of work, and he's embraced that. And I think he's been as frustrated as anybody that over the last year to do the kind of contact sport of politics and be out there and addressing their issues directly because of the situation that we've been in. But we've got to reconnect with voters that used to vote Labour, don't anymore. We've got to mobilise and energise the base of voters, and that is if I had the answer to that question, I think if anybody had a simple answer to that question, we wouldn't be where we are. It's a tough thing that we've got to do in the current electoral context that we're in, with a Tory party, as I say, whose tanks are sort of firmly parked all over.
So if I asked you for just your top 2 policies which you think could deliver that re-energising and reconnecting that you're talking about, do you have them? What are they?
Well, I think we've got to, and I think Keir's been starting to shape this out more recently, and I know he's going to accelerate this, but we have to fundamentally reshape our economy, because it's not been working for people. It especially has not been working for people in places like Hartlepool and other parts of the north and the region. We relied in the past too much on this notion of, the Labour Party did as well as the Tories, of this sort of trickle-down economics, that if we created growth, it would eventually reach all parts. That experiment has failed, and we need a completely different approach to the economy so that we can create and keep decent, good jobs in every part of the country. And that alone, I don't think, the Tories might talk that talk, but they believe really that the market will just deliver that on its own. We don't think that. We think you've got to have an active partnership between business and government to really address these fundamentals, and that's what people want in their lives. They want their economic circumstances to change, and the Labour Party has to be the agent of that change, which at the moment we're not.
Later on tonight, Lucy, finally, I'm going to be speaking to your colleague, Kelly Mahmood. He quit, of course, the Shadow Cabinet a few weeks ago. He's written a piece today in which he says the following. He says, a London-based bourgeoisie with the support of brigades of woke social media warriors has effectively captured the party. Is he right?
Well, I think where I maybe would agree with Khaled, and I don't think that Keir Starmer or others would disagree with him, is that we have been too London-centric, too Westminster-focused, too internally focused as the Labour Party. No question of that. And that's one of the things that we really do need to change in the coming weeks and months ahead, so that we are better connected. And we've seen some of the other results coming in places like Wales, where Labour is in power, and the results have been better there, where because we're in power, we're able to be a lot more connected to the community that has delivered results. I hope we'll see the same in Greater Manchester, in my area tomorrow, with Andy Burnett, with his. So Labour can do this, and we will do our best to get back to that position nationally.
And final question. In a number of words, how would you sum up these words? Is it a disaster? How would you sum up these results? Sorry.
I think they're incredibly disappointing and devastating, and I don't think there's any sugaring of that pill.
Okay. Thank you. We'll get reaction from John Tongue tonight, and from you. Lots of you colleagues tonight. We'll get you on air in just a few minutes' time. 08085 909 693. We'll pause first, though, for the news at 10:30.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you, Stephen. With the headlines, I'm Stuart Clarkson. Boris Johnson says the Conservatives' win in the Hartlepool by-election is a mandate to continue to deliver for the whole country. So Keir Starmer's called the result bitterly disappointing. and said he'd do whatever it takes to rebuild trust in the party. The Tories have gone on to take control of 8 English councils today, including Cornwall, Nottinghamshire and Northumberland. In Scotland, the SNP's won 3 additional seats so far, but missed out on some of its key target seats. It's not clear if the party will gain enough to secure an outright majority at Holyrood. Welsh Labour's performed well, holding on to key seats in the Senedd. The Tories gained the Vale of Clwyd from Labour, Brecon and Radnor from the Lib Dems. We're also just hearing they've gained a seat on the regional list in the South Wales West regional results, which have just come in. Elsewhere tonight, reports of the price of flights to Portugal shooting up after the country was named one of 12 destinations on the government's green list. People returning from the countries on the list, including Iceland and Israel, no longer have to self-isolate. And under the under-40s are going to be offered an alternative to the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine where available because of a link with rare blood clots. Previously, the recommendation only applied to the under-30s. Government advisors say it's to try and boost confidence in the vaccination programme. Let's get all the sports tonight. Here's Shojo Saka.
Good evening. Newcastle United have climbed 4 places in the Premier League table with a boring win at Leicester City.
Callum Wilson in at the edge of the penalty area. Back of the net, and Newcastle United are in here at the King Power Stadium. Almiron, what a ball that is! Callum Wilson! Off the post, Wilson again, 4-0!
Well, despite from Leicester, goals from Joe Willock, Paul Dummett and those 2 from Callum Wilson were enough to give Newcastle a 4-2 victory in the end. They move up to 13th and 12 points clear of the relegation zone. Leicester City stay 3rd, but have played 1 more game than their top 4 rivals. Turkey has been put on the UK's government travel red list. That means that Chelsea and Manchester City fans should not travel to Istanbul for the Champions League final on the 29th of May. The FA is in talks with UEFA about switching that game. 9 of the original European Super League clubs, including the Premier League's Big 6, have been given a financial punishment by UEFA. More on that from our reporter Simon Stone.
All 9 of these errant clubs have agreed effectively not to do it again, and they've agreed also to pay a sum between them of 15 million euros as a sign of goodwill, and that will go to children, youth, grassroots football in local communities.
Well, those 9 clubs will also have 5% of UEFA competition revenues withheld for 1 season in 2023-24. European football's governing body says it will take appropriate action against the other 3 clubs who have refused to renounce the European Super League. They are Real Madrid, Barcelona and Juventus. Rugby League and Warrington Wolves are through to the Challenge Cup semi-finals after a 16-6 win over Catalan Dragons at Emerald Heading. St Helens are also into the last 4 after knocking out Huddersfield 23-18. Sale Sharks are up to 2nd in Rugby Union's Premiership tonight after beating Leicester 26-10. In the Pro 14 Rainbow Cup, there were wins for Glasgow and Munster. Andy Murray will practice with Novak Djokovic in Rome on Sunday and hopes to return to the ATP Tour in 10 days' time. The former world number 1 has not played since early March because of a groin problem. More from our tennis correspondent, Russell Fuller.
It has been another very frustrating period for Murray since he first felt the groin pain in the middle of the night just before the Miami Open in March. Scans have shown there's no serious problem, and he's at the stage now where he can head off to Rome to practice alongside the very best in the world. Then he hopes to play on the tour in either Lyon or Geneva the following week. He might be at Roland Garros for French Open qualifying after that. He's entered that draw because he doesn't yet know whether he'll get a wild card into the main draw.
And right now on the BBC iPlayer, you can watch some live Bellator 258. Just getting started is the welterweight contest between Britain's Michael Venom Page and the American Derek the Barbaric Anderson. That's the latest from BBC Sport.
On BBC One, I'm pregnant. It's not the same thing. I can say I helped you. From the makers of 3 Girls.
In Northern Ireland, it's one of the most restrictive abortion laws in the world.
A drama based on...
Sa ngayon, dari banyak investasi, tenang.